It is time to go oval racing in the sunny west coast of the United States. The penultimate round of the season heads to the south of California, to Apple Valley in San Bernardino, and with the backdrop of Mount San Antonio. With a 2-mile speedway here, a new qualifying format and a championship wide open, still 105 points left on the table. 35 of those are on offer today over a 120-lap race. It's round 5 of the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR, brought to you by IMB Raceway, SimLab and 3D Wrap. And as it will be for the final 2 weeks in a row, back-to-back, myself, Lewis McGlade, alongside me, Ewan O'Leary. Ewan, it has been a crazy season so far, and I don't expect that's going to end anytime soon.
No, I think that's actually going to be ramped up throughout the oval racing that we're going to see over the next 2 weeks, to be honest, because as you mentioned, we've seen some absolutely fantastic road course racing so far, but there's always that extra added variable, or more than one extra added variable at an oval circuit, not just the track itself, but the whole thing that comes with it and everything that we'll talk about throughout the day that just makes oval racing just a little bit weird, a little bit wacky, but very entertaining to watch. Indeed, still a very close championship that's going on out there at the moment, and I think mistakes are more likely around on oval circuits because you're so close to other cars, and other people's mistakes can affect you a little bit more than they might do in road course races. And so I think this championship, while Simracers has a big lead, a big-ish lead, shall we say, it's still wide open. There's a lot of drivers. 10 drivers can still mathematically win it, and a lot of those are very, very close on points indeed. And we've got 2 very exciting oval races to come. Here's the championship standings, by the way. Simracers leading it by 27 points, but behind him, it is very, very close indeed, starting with Alex Siebel.
Yeah, just look at how many podiums consecutively Yannick Simracers has had. It's been a very dominant performance from him thus far throughout the season. He's done extremely well when it comes to his consistency in the championship. I believe he's on about 6 consecutive podiums at the moment. Has done very, very well. Started off the season with 2 fourth-place runs and then has just been super consistent ever since. Alan Terzic had an absolute mare last time out. Did not have the round he was looking for. Definitely struggled in the first race of the retirement, or not a retirement. He did get to the end, but he didn't score any points in that one. Had a good drive in race 2, but realistically made far too many mistakes. And that's dropped him from 2nd in the championship down to 5th. Obviously, with 105 points though left on the table, it's still very possible. And as you said, the difference between road course and oval is that on the road, everything realistically is in your hands. You know, obviously there are sometimes with racing where there's a bit of risk involved, whereas when doing oval racing, the risk factor is ramped right the way up, and there can be a crash which is nothing to do with you that you still get involved in just because, you know, the big one. We've all seen it in oval races before, and the likelihood of it racing around this circuit at the speeds we will be, with slipstream, a bit of dirty air as well, throwing up the racetrack, it's going to be hard work for them.
It is, yeah, and it's not going to be in terms of the circuit. Obviously, it's very simple. Obviously, people like to knock over racing, saying it's just turning left. But the racing is where it really gets exciting, and that's where it gets really difficult as well for these guys to really contend with. Trying to avoid contact, stay out of the wall, stay out of trouble for this race is the most important thing, really. There's 120 laps here. It's a long way. It's going to be over an hour of racing, we think. For these guys, and that's a lot of concentration. We don't think it's going to go green the whole way, because I can't remember the last time that an oval race did, if we're honest. So there is going to be a caution, maybe a little bit of a break, but even then, you've got strategy to be thinking about, and trying to do that on the fly is very, very difficult indeed, and you could be caught out ever so slightly, focusing on one and not the other. But obviously, I think for the championship rivals and the championship leaders, staying out of trouble is the most important order of the day here, but there's some guys further down who are not even remotely involved in the championship, who are mathematically out of it now, who will be fighting really hard for the race win. And some of those guys, while they might not be quite so strong on the road courses, they may come into their own on the ovals, and they might be up there. We've seen obviously the usual suspects starting to crop up in the last 2 races. Martin Stefanko has taken pole here in the FSR IndyPRO Championship. But I can't see that happening today. I can see the order completely turning on its head. And obviously we'll get into that qualifying procedure in a minute. But obviously that's very unique in itself, and it's going to come to a very exciting end at the end of this session.
Yeah, let's talk about the qualifying format. Actually, we're about to head into the session as we go green. The session itself is divided up into 5 groups. They go out in reverse championship order. So the first 5 are those that are a bit lower down the championship. Maybe the drivers that have only done 1 or 2 rounds in the season. The season they've not really wanted has happened, etc., etc. We see those, and then there are 5 different groups spread out across a 25-minute session. In that time, they will do an out lap. They will do 4 timed laps. For those of you that watched the Indianapolis race earlier will have seen this format. They do 4 time laps, and it's average speed over those 4 laps. And basically, that's kind of how it works most times when it comes to racing these cars in ovals. So we look at Francesconi in this group. We've got Kasper Stolzer, we've got Chris Shepherd, Francesconi, Eros Mashuli, and Zolt Schuch. All part of this group, all heading out on the circuit. The commanders, they have to get out on track before a minute is completed in their group session. They get basically 3 minutes and they complete their run, basically. So we'll keep an eye as to what kind of times are going to be set. And Francesconi to set that benchmark, Wanyan. Yes, this is quite easy in a sense. It's flat out. It's, you know, you keep the throttle pinned, you turn it in as calmly, as carefully as possible. Make sure you don't hit the apron. But you've got to do that for 2 minutes straight with no mistakes and absolutely smooth.
Yeah, you've got to be totally smooth. Otherwise, your lap will be completely ruined. And the momentum for the whole run is kind of ruined as well. And that's very, very important. Momentum is going to be a big talking point. And trying to use as little steering lock to get around the corners as possible is advantageous, really. But you can already see Zolt Schuch on this early lap is much faster than everybody else. You can also see at the moment that we've got the miles per hour up. This is an average on miles per hour. So there's it's going to be a little bit confusing to see the kind of minus figures below what we're used to seeing below the actual leader. But that is in miles an hour. So currently 226.6 miles an hour average for Zolt Schuch. But he is battling with Francesconi at the moment, who's beginning to gain a little bit of pace. He's beginning to get a little bit faster throughout the day and throughout this qualifying session. It's worth noting as well, there is only 4 drivers in this session, but there will be 5 in the other 4. It's just because we've not got a factor of 5 to actually do in this round here today, and that is why we've got 4 out here, but it will be 5 for the rest. Either way, Schuch is looking pretty good at the moment, although he is being caught on the averages ever so slightly by Francesconi as they're into the final couple of laps of their runs now.
Yeah, the important thing on a run like this, the most important thing to do is make sure that your out lap is good. Make sure that you're running up very, very high. We're on board with Zolt Schuch here, is looking to go on to provisional pole position in the session, crosses the line, does an average time of a 2:26.579 over a 4-lap one. Francesconi closed it in from just over a mile an hour off, down to 0.3 of a mile an hour. So pretty tight in that sense, but expect things to get tighter. I think that time from Zolt Schuch is not really going to last too long at the top when it comes to the average speed. Eros Mashuli and Chris Shepherd, I believe, have already finished. If not, they're just coming round to finish their runs. Mashuli, who's currently a fair way off of his teammate. The next group of drivers entering the racetrack, we've got Pelesny, Fournier, Maguire, Van der Neet and Borja Milan, all part of this group. It's not been, we've spoke about this a few times, Ewan, it's not been the season that we would have expected from Monaco, with the very specific exception of Ricardo Costa, who's done quite well after a not so great first couple of rounds, grabbed himself a podium and has looked pretty pacey on occasion. How this translates though to the oval is that anyone who's had a bad season up until this point is basically able to hit the reset button. They're able to start again, they're able to focus on this and get the most out of it, really.
Yeah, they can kind of go into it with no fear, nothing to lose for these guys, and that might inspire them to do just something a little bit special throughout this session and throughout this weekend as well. We'll see. Indeed, but Milan is the first of these guys over the line. He's going to be followed by Pelesny, who is 0.6 of a mile an hour behind, and both of those guys, Milan and Pelesny, used to driving GT cars, really, not open wheel drivers per se, and definitely not oval drivers by trade, but they could do something special here today. You never know. It's always giving it a go is always nice, I think. You never know. You might really enjoy the oval racing, and that's kind of why it's here. That's why we're all here, really, just for the pure enjoyment of it. As Milan goes over the line again, currently on his averages half a mile an hour down on Zooks, but he's not going to travel up the order until he's completed that fourth lap. They don't get intermingled with those guys until they have completed their runs. Milan is now just behind Van der Neet and Maguire as they come to complete their third lap now.
Yeah, but look at Maguire. Look at Maguire. His second lap was ridiculously fast. He's gone. Effectively, that was the quickest lap of the session so far from Adam Maguire. Setting a time in terms of actual time, it's the first time that a driver's gone underneath a 31.9. He did an 8.82. In terms of average speed, over the lap that he's currently doing, completing another one, he's about to come up. The order will chop and change. But at the moment, he is tracking to go to the top of the session. The lap he's just done there really wasn't very good. I wonder if he's just overdone the tyres. Zolt's laps were all very, very consistent. They were all basically 2:26 mids. Whereas Maguire, as much as he's done the fastest lap, you can see there, his third lap has dropped back down to a 2:25.8. So it's not really ideal there. Borja Milan goes into third place, but keep an eye on that because Maguire could be moving his way up towards the front of the order. Van der Neet goes to second. Maguire then goes to second. Impressive final lap as well. To get himself up onto a provisional front row of the grid. Nice time. Like his consistency was lacking in that session, it must be said, but the pace was absolutely there.
Yeah, and that could prove dividends in the race. You never know. Obviously, a late race caution might end up suiting him quite well, given what he did. But Danny Van der Neet, as well, did a pretty good job there. Third place for him. But I'm afraid it was not a good session for Geoffrey Fournier there. 4 laps for him completed. Now, Wanako going to be a little bit disappointed with that one, I'm afraid. He's over 4 miles an hour down on the Zoltstuks, and that might not seem like a lot, especially when you're travelling at over 220 miles an hour. But it is quite a lot in effect. You can see he's a comfortable 3 miles an hour down on Chris Shepherd, and really not where he wants to be. He's going to be looking to get forward throughout the race, but we have already the next set of drivers, the next set of 5 are out there on the circuit. Janus Braksok, Jukka-Pekka Laulu, Phil Kraus, Noah Roivers and David Koloksai are all out there now, and it looks like Roivers is going to come across the line here to set the pace just behind Koloksai, and Roivers already looking really quite fast actually.
Yeah, I'm just going to come to the defence here a little bit of Geoffrey Fournier, in the sense of it says 4.44 miles an hour off, which sounds like so much. In terms of time, a language which most of us understand, to an average in time off of Schuch, it was 0.6 of a second, which, yes, is a flat-out oval, but it's only 0.6, translates to 4 miles an hour. Look at that first lap from Janus Braksok, 2:27.0. That is a very, very fast time to open his run at the moment. Nearly the fastest of the session, the fastest lap completed. In comparison to Schuch, that's faster than his first lap time. So we'll keep our eye on Braksok and see if we can keep that momentum up. It's looking pretty good. It is looking pretty good for Braksok to go to the front of the grid here.
Yeah, he's holding that pace. He just ever so slightly increased it as well, with 227.1 miles an hour at the moment. Koloksai can't really get anywhere near him. Noah Roivers is really improving throughout the session as well, but nobody can get near Braksok. Really, really nicely getting into turn 3 there as well. Very smooth indeed. And now we're going to see what this lap time or lap speed is going to be. Does it increase once again? It just ever so slightly decreases, but he's still done 227 miles an hour, which is a good half a mile an hour quicker than anybody else at the moment. He seems to just be slowing up ever so slightly towards the end here, but he's doing a very good job nevertheless.
Koloksai goes to third, moves down to fourth position as Noah Roivers moves to the top of the session. So he's actually passed Schuch there and is currently sat on provisional pole position. But that is going to come to an end, as I believe, considering that time that we've just seen, this is going to be a 2:27 onto the board. It certainly is. Our first 2:27 average lap time across the stints with 2 groups to go. That is very, very impressive from Janus Braksok. Heads to the top of the session. Great time and sets the fastest of it. All very, very consistent. His final lap was very nearly his fastest lap of the entire run. That is mighty, mighty impressive from Braksok. Great drive as well from Noah Roivers, but it's opened up to half a mile an hour at the top end of the field to separate our provisional pole time and those drivers behind. Second group heading out Of course, as I said, it's reverse championship order. So this one has Jan Vosnicker, who was reversed in the previous 2 races to the pole position. Looked very, very strong, at least in pace terms. Then Ricardo Costa, Michi Hoyer, Petr Beliak, who we're on board with at the moment. Season's really not worked out for him. A wheel disconnection, and that it's not been the season that he would have wanted. But still, plenty of time to come back. And Dennis Jordan also in this one. The final Group Power Championship protagonist, so stay around for that one. We're on board with Beliak, and we'll get his first time on the board and see what it is. It's 2:26.4, not a great opening salvo from Michi Hoyer, same from Ricardo Costa. Dennis Jordan's actually quite far down in all of that. Beliak's is decent, 2:26.7, that would be good enough at the moment. If he can keep this up, it'd be good enough for second place. But one thing to note is that if you're starting out the session on a time like this, it's actually very, very hard to claw back that deficit, because he's already coming into this with 0.3, 0.4 of a mile an hour deficit to Janis Brakshock.
Yeah, you've already seen that, because Brakshock came in with a 2:27.1 and he held that pace somewhat remarkably. It was a very consistent run from Brakshock, but he started right at the top. He didn't build up like Beliak is doing right now, because you can see Beliak is very nearly on the pace that Brakshock was, but he's got a bit of a deficit to catch up now, and he just ever so slightly clipped the apron as well there on the left-hand side, which will slow him up ever so slightly as these guys come to complete, or most of them come to complete their 3rd lap out there at the moment. Jan Vosnick is just a little bit further behind. Yeah, Beliak now is going to be looking good for second place here, I think, in the session. But it's so remarkable how Brakshock's been able to do that. Just look at how close the rest of the field is. It's truly remarkable how he's been able to pull half a mile an hour on everybody. And as we mentioned, it doesn't sound like very much, half a mile an hour, when you're travelling at these speeds. But it is a really quite remarkable advantage that he's got at the moment. But we'll see if it holds up now. Beliak really is building up to this. He got his first 2:27 last lap around. He's going to need something pretty special, though, if he wants to take the pole position, the provisional pole position, away from Janis Brakshock.
It's close. He's got to do a decent improvement. Hoyer goes to 11th. Beliak looking for second. It is second. Doesn't quite do enough to get on to provisional pole position, but I'm pretty sure he'll be happy with that. Out of the danger zone, unlike the likes of Dennis Jordan, down in 17th place. Ricardo Costa's put himself in 5th. Jan Vosnicker about to finish his run looking mid 2:26s. That should put him somewhere just outside the top 10, around where Michi Hoyer was. It's not so strong. I mean, it should be 10th, actually. Oh, 7th. There you go. Shows what I know. That was actually a good final lap. Very good in comparison to the rest of his run. He built up into that, but did not start fast enough. Now, here we go then. The big green.
That's a mistake.
That is a mistake from Martin Stefanko, who is in the final. I don't quite know how he's got to where he's got. We'll grab a replay. I wonder if he's just spun it out, maybe caught it on the apron with Stefanko. Let's have a look. He's in the pit lane here. Maybe wasn't sure if he can go out. We'll see him anyway. The final group: Alan Terzic, Martin Stefanko, Yuri Toman, Alex Siebel, and Jerne Simicic. Oh, easy to do. Easy to do. There's a bit of a bump there. The problem is, from him, I know this doesn't sound like very much, but that's actually going to cost him momentum all the way around his lap, because you'd be building speed on the exit through pit lane, and then you'd be running high on your out lap around T3 and T4, and then bringing it down low, holding it nice and smooth. So he's going to lose out from that. Not a good opening lap from Alex Siebel, it must be said. What's Yuri Toman? Oh, what a surprise. Doesn't matter whether it's a road course, oval course, doesn't really matter. Jerne Simicic starting the session with a 2:26.8. And if he builds up into this, knowing the kind of way that he does, he's just gone faster than anyone in the first sector of his second lap. This could be a mad run coming in from Jerne Simicic.
Yeah, it really could, and we don't expect anything less at this point. He can just perform on any kind of stage, whether it's an oval or a road course. He can just do it anywhere. Let's see what this is. As Yuri Toman's going very quickly in his second lap. He's actually overtaken Simicic there. That's an incredible second lap from Yuri Toman. And Stefanko's actually doing decently well, considering he spun out the pit lane. As you mentioned, that's going to hamper his momentum for this whole run. He's going to be missing out on a couple of tenths of a mile an hour, very fine margins, I know, but he is going to be missing out on a few positions because of it. These guys now coming to complete their third lap out there at the moment. Siebel not quite going as quickly as he wants to, and neither is Alan Terzic, but Yuri Toman is going very well indeed. It's going to be super, super close for the pole position here.
Toman, that lap that you said, where he jumped up towards the 2:27 mark, that lap was the fastest lap of the session. If this was a standard qualifying session, just single lap, it would be Yuri Toman currently on pole position. Is he going to do the duty anyway? We stare at Yuri Toman. Jene Simicic is behind, coming across the line first off. They're moving up the order. Alex Siebel goes to third. Good time from him. Yuri Toman to the line. It's not enough for pole. Only second. What does Jene Simicic do? Fourth place on the grid behind Petr Berliak. So Janis Brakshock, through all of that, we'll keep an eye on Stefanko as he's going to finish his session. The last of our qualifiers, not gone very well for him. I think he's going to be languishing fairly far down the order. About 17th place, 16th is all that he can muster from that. But Janis Brakshock takes pole position here in Apple Valley in California, and that is a pretty mighty run from him. A lot of threat at the end, though, from the likes of Yuri Toman and Jene Simicic.
Yeah, he's not exactly an unknown driver, that is for sure, but it is a little bit of a surprise to see Janis Brakshock actually take that. Obviously, he had the record for scoring points in almost all of the races last season in the FSR World Championship. Unfortunately for him, that fell apart in Interlagos, but we know he's a very consistent and a very fast driver as well. I really thought Yuri Toman was going to steal it from him, though, and those two were really fighting it out. Yuri Toman's second lap, by the way, 227.4 miles an hour, and that, as he said, the fastest lap that anybody has done, and I don't think anybody would have been able to get near that. It was an insane lap from Toman, and it has put a little bit of space in between him and Simicic, and that could be important, but it is a long race, of course. Either way, though, Brakshock is on pole after that great drive, and as I mentioned, he's not exactly a bad driver, but it is a little bit of a surprise to see him up there, and that's what we like about the ovals. It's really tipped things on its head ever so slightly. We've seen guys like Noah Roivers up in 6th place and Zolt Sooks in 7th. You know, we wouldn't have seen that otherwise. We wouldn't have seen that in a road course. It's very unlikely we would have seen it either way. So I'm personally very glad that we've got a bit of a mixed up order, and obviously we've got guys like Stefanko who are going to be coming from the back. So it's just going to be a very, very interesting race indeed. It's going to be oval racing at its finest, I think.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. We've got a lot of road course experts going to the oval. Reminder that we've got 2 rounds left of the season here and then at Indianapolis. It's a good job we're starting at this track because it's a bit easier to race at, a bit easier to learn for some of the oval rookies out there that maybe trying to learn. We've done plenty of tests, though, so the drivers have become accustomed to how the car is when it comes to oval racing, so they are getting used to it. But of course, do not forget to like the broadcast and subscribe to the race for all of the upcoming content, all of the reaction to the Formula One, to the Grand Prix that was on earlier in the day, 7th consecutive Constructors' Championship from Mercedes. All of that reaction will be on the-race.com. So all of that reaction on there. On the YouTube channel, however, we've got round 2 of GT Challenge Series coming up tomorrow. Unfortunately, I have to put up with my voice in that one. On Sunday, the penultimate race of Super GT from Motegi. Also, the finale for the British GT Championship at Silverstone. Fingers crossed that actually does go ahead. Jenson Button will be on track in that one, so keep your eye on that live here on the race. And of course, we return next week, the final race of the season here on Sunday, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the final round to decide who is going to be the champion in the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR, and a thrilling conclusion we are looking forward to. I don't think you're going to see many a tighter fight when it comes to that championship, because at the moment everything is poised. I know that points lead that Jene Simicic has got in the championship, but you never know how it's going to unfold, and the ovals are a real curveball to end the season, and what a way to end it as well.
Yeah, I'm personally really glad that we're ending on the ovals rather than starting on them, which could have been easily done as well, and ending at Indianapolis, which is going to be a very prestigious one to win, and that really throws some interesting curveballs at them as well. But yeah, as we mentioned earlier on, 105 points are still available in this FSR IndyPRO Championship, which means 10 drivers can still win the title, stretching all the way down to Jan Vosnicker, who's in 10th at the moment, 98 points back. If he were to win, then I am so up for these last 2 races, because it's going to be complete carnage, with no disrespect to Jan Vosnicker at all. But yeah, despite that margin that Simicic does have over the likes of Siebel, Toman and Stefanko, this is not over just yet. As you mentioned, the oval racing is so unpredictable, so difficult, and there's a lot of road racing specialists, including Simracers, who are kind of treading uncharted territory at the moment, really. So that could also play things into others' hands, and things could change around very quickly. But I'm afraid to report that Alan Terzic is not particularly looking forward to these oval races. Much more of a road course racer, and he didn't think that he was going to do particularly well in these final 2 races because they are ovals, and that's just not what he's best at. He's better at the road courses, and given that he comes in with such a deficit to Jene Simracers, you can sort of write him off, but you can almost never write him off. I don't think you can write off anybody inside the top 10 just yet.
No, write off any driver at your peril. Before, though, we head into the penultimate race of the season, 120 laps here at Apple Valley. We'll just take a little bit of a break before that race begins. Qualifying complete, poised for a tight fight here in Apple Valley. It's round 5 of the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR, brought to you by IMB Raceway, SimLab and 3D Wrap. 2 rounds left of the season, round 5 of 6. Lewis McGlade alongside me, Ewan O'Leary. Quality qualifying session, things are looking pretty tight. How the race is going to unfold is going to require patience, looking at the long game. The way that you win ovals is by making sure that you are there at the end. The thing, though, with a lot of oval rookies on the grid, it's going to be hard for them to remain patient, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Patience is going to be a key, but it's difficult to find as well. And staying on the lead lap is so important. I cannot stress it to you enough. If you've not seen very much oval racing in the past, then staying on the lead lap is almost like staying in the race, to be honest. If you're a lap down, you're as good as out, and it's very, very difficult for you to get that lap back. As we just get a brief overview of what the championship standings look like. I wouldn't be too disheartened by Simracers' championship margin because there are so many variables to come up in this race, and one of them are the strategy plays that could take place throughout this race. We're expecting 25-26 laps on a tank of fuel, which makes things a pretty easy 4-stop race. But with cautions that are always looming on the horizon, and you never know when they're going to come and where, things could really get changed on their head at some point, and the possibility of fuel saving. Although it didn't really turn out very well for Thomas Vack in the last session, in the Indy Arm Championship just about an hour ago, it could turn out for one of these guys because there's a lot more drafting opportunities. Cautions could also help you save a lot of fuel as well. So I think the fuel saving strategy might be just a little bit more viable than it was in Indiana.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see when that strategy comes to fruition. Here is the grid, though. Janis Brakshock starting from pole position ahead of Jiri Toman. Berliak and Jene Simracers looking for his championship. See what he can do from 4th place on the grid. Not in the danger zone, nicely out of it. Alex Siebel, Noah Roivers. Then Zolt Schuch, who was top of the session for quite a while in the early stages, ahead of Ricardo Costa, who's starting a great end-of-season form for Costa. The 2 ovals yet to coming through. Adam Maguire, Jan Vosnica down in 10th place. Pekka Lalu and Kalaksai. This is where the danger zone starts to begin. Being in that mid-pack is going to be pretty tricky for a lot of these drivers, and there are some drivers down in this danger zone, but they're going to be looking for an easy way out. Danny van der Neet, Alan Terzic up in the championship fight. Michael Francesconi and Martin Stefanko also in the championship fight. Borja Milan and Michi Hoyer 17th and 18th, with Phil Kraus and Eros Masuli down in 20th place. The final 5 runners on the grid. We've got Chris Shepherd, Wojtek Polesny down in 21st and 22nd place. Dennis Jordan way down the order. Terrible qualifying session for him, but we know how patient he can be throughout the race. This may still work out for him. Jeffrey Fournier, Kasper Stolzer and Tomasz Vack round out a 26-car grid here in Apple Valley, the penultimate round of the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR. There is our pace man, Cameron Roger. We'll see him out a few times today as he's telling the drivers to grid up. That was what was happening in the background. We'll see him again today. We're going to assume here in the sense that there is potential for cautions depending on what happens, and the safety car may be returning to the grid. Let's take a look though as we begin the race here. 120 laps ahead of us. Janis Brakshock on the pole position, and we are underway here for the penultimate round of the season. It is a great launch from Janis Brakshock, leading Toman, Berliak, Simoncic, Schuch as well. This is further down the order with Alex Siebel, who's coming under heavy fire from Schuch, who's moved his way right up the order into 5th. That's a great run from 7th to 5th, moving up a couple of positions, now putting pressure on Petar Berliak, who's on the back of Jene Simoncic. The top two have cleared away to the tune of a second. This is looking backwards from Jene Simoncic as the major battle pack behind. Everyone fanning out, coming into turn 3 wide in the background there with the one Akko of Ricardo Costa heads up the order and trying to find his way through. He's under pressure from Adam Maguire rather behind. We go single file, complete the first lap, and Brakshock still your leader from Jiri Toman.
Yeah, he is indeed. The inside line had almost so many people on it that it got so stacked up. Those guys on the outside were really able to get a great run. It might be happening again here. Jan Vosnica right in the mix. And everybody's in the mix here as they all sweep to the inside line trying to defend their positions. Vosnica on the outside of Simoncic as Toman is trying to get around the outside of Brakshock. These two are really starting to run away. These two might want to stay single file just for a little bit of time. But Toman's not listening to me at all. Down the inside into turn 1 here on lap 3. Already trying to take the lead away from Janis Brakshock.
Yeah, nice move. Probably turned it up. Mixed modes. They've got a couple of mixed modes to pick from, so they can save. If they're in the pack, they can save fuel. Make sure they're looking after it. Jeffrey Fournier, already a retirement from the race down the order. Jiri Toman and Janis Brakshock switching, changing positions. The more they do that, the more time they're going to cause them. Janis Brakshock heads to the lead into T3. Further back, it's still a very tight battle with Schuch leading from Jene Simoncic, who we know his patience. This is with Petar Berliak. Noah Roivers behind Ricardo Costa, all very, very tight ahead of this. Petar Berliak was nearly was very much under attack. Alex Siebel, 10th place, dropped down the order. It is pretty frantic out there at the moment. They are still too wide in the mid-pack. That's Alex Siebel, Adam Maguire, Martin Stefanko, and Jukka-Pekka Lalu. See them all fanning out once again. Another change for the lead. Jiri Toman had it into 1 and 2. And yet again, it goes the way of Janis Brakshock. Neither of these two are saving fuel. 2.5 seconds clear at the front. Do not expect that to remain in this scenario for too long. I think they're only going for 25 laps. If you're saving and if you're in fuel, if you're careful with it, we're speaking to Mr. Dennis Jordan, DJ, who's down in 22nd place. He's like, you can get, theoretically, 33 laps from the tank if you're careful. And if you're on that slower mix mode. So, you know, hold fire. We'll see how the strategy plays out for this lot, but it is continuing, Ewan.
It is certainly, and the battling is all going on at the moment. Simoncic has lost a couple of positions in the last few moments. He's down to 6th now. He's got Ricardo Costa right behind him. He's trying to get down the inside of Noah Roivers at the moment, who gave him the room, but then slams the door in his face as they complete lap 5 now. It's all getting very close between these three, as it's all close for the lead as well. Toman and Brakshock kind of screwing themselves over by battling this much, but at least they're not battling too much through the corners, and that's what loses you a load of time. At least they're doing it on the straights. There's a lot of weaving on the back straight now. Ricardo Costa trying to get down the inside, but didn't quite have the space and didn't quite have his car alongside. As up the track goes Jan Vosnica, trying to get past Sux, but he couldn't quite do it. And that's
caution, pits closed.
As we've got our first caution of the day.
So pits are closed. They're not allowed to pit until they've all met up under the safety car. First caution, 6 laps in, completed. Ricardo Costa was trying to get his move done on Jene Simoncic. They were close on the line.
Closed.
And there we are, the confirmation that the caution has come out. Not sure who was involved in that.
Caution.
I think Polesny might have been, and well, we'll have to wait and see. Cameron Roger then will take to the field. We see him coming out the big yellow dot on your map in the bottom right hand side of your screen, going to come out and pick up the leaders. Jiri Toman completing a lead. That lead that they had then with Toman and Brakshock, who were comfortably leading 2.5 seconds, that's eradicated. We're all in a single file line. That lead
Make sure
no
next
more.
time you just lift off the throttle once caution is closed.
There we go, just a little bit of a slap on the wrist there from the safety guy. That's it, but this is with Polesny. And down the inside, that's Kasper Stolzer. And what's going to happen to him? Is he going to lose it by himself? I think Kasper Stolz, just gets into the net Rex and into the barrier. And that's a pretty large whack. That was Danny van der Neet, who I believe he hit. You've got one of the HME Reds cars. That'll be Thomas Vac going all over the infield as well. Pretty hard hit there for Polesny. I think he might have some suspension broken on that car as well.
He'll be into the pit lane for sure. I don't know if they're open just yet. No, they can't be open just yet.
No.
But Polesny is already into the pit lane. I presume that would count as emergency service, to be honest, because that car did look like it was in a bit of an emergency. It's really been put into the wall quite hard there. I think the Netrex car, just coming down the track ever so slightly, and you can't really brake when you're going around the corner like that. On the banking, turning at the same time, you don't brake. You can only lift off, but that only slows you down so much, of course. There's only so much you can do, and that caused Polesny into the barriers pretty badly. And Thomas Vac was off in sympathy.
It's open
but
for lead lap
Martin
cars.
Stefanko out of the race, unfortunately. Not sure what happened to him, but the pit lane is open now, and we're expecting a lot of drivers to come down pit lane.
There's a disconnection again. Second consecutive week, a disconnection from Stefanko. So this lot, they are staying out. They're not deciding to pick up the fuel at this early stage. I'm sure there'll be some people a little bit further back. Maybe no one's. Oh, there we go. There we go. So we've got Yuka Pekalalu, Alex Siebel, Borja Milan, Klotzai, Phil Kraus, Dennis Jordan, all coming into the pit lane, all to pick up fuel at this early stage. Tyres aren't really needed at this point, but they can do fuel. They can refill the tank, and that little bit extra in the tank could actually pay dividends much later on. If you're already down the order, you might as well pick it up at this early stage. Get that little bit extra fuel in the tank. Open up your strategy options for later in the race, because you never know how important. You've seen it time and time again where drivers that stay out so long, then a caution comes out and they've gained all of that track position basically for free. It's a pretty hefty gain coming into the pit lane here. Naturally, a very fast circuit like this. What was it that Dennis Jordan? He did tell me what the expected pit lane loss was. He said a full tank pit stop costs you around about 38 seconds. When it comes to slowing down into pit lane, coming in, changing tyres, doing fuel, and then coming back out again. 38 seconds. A lap around here is about 32.
Exactly. Yeah, and under green, you will lose a lap doing a pit stop. But under caution, you don't, and that's the advantage that all of those guys have just taken. So Lalu and Siebel are the particularly interesting ones there. And also interesting, both Evolution cars have gone for this early pit stop. And you saw there, Lolly was in about 13th, and most of the guys behind him came into the pit lane. When you see someone in front of you come into the pit lane at this early stage in the race, particularly if you're down the field, you almost always follow them. That's just kind of one of the things that ends up happening, really. And as we can see at the moment, on board with Dennis Jordan, is just catching up to the back of the Crocodile. He's 10 laps better off in fuel than everybody else, and so he's going to be making 3 more stops in this race, whereas those in front might be making 4, but obviously that all depends on obviously he would be looking
safety
in a great place at the moment
of this lap,
but obviously cautions later on in the race could really screw things up for him. This is not the last we will see of the safety car, I don't expect. And nobody's really expecting it. It would be interesting if it was, but it's not going to be, we pretty much expect. And so at the end of lap 12, we're going to go back green flag racing, and we'll see what happens on this restart.
Yeah, I think Cam Roger, our safety car driver, has been looking forward to the oval rounds. He can do some leading finally in FSR. He struggles to score points, bless him. But this time he gets to lead the field.
Okay, grid up, single file, 160 kilometers an hour. Leader can go at the starting location.
Safety car will take off. The control is headed to Yuri Toman at the top of the field. A single file restart as expected. And that deep breath, he's going to be a sitting duck into T1. And when he decides to go, it will probably be quite late. He wants to go at an unpredictable point. There he goes. So Yuri Toman has taken off. Janis Brakshok with Zolcic directly behind, who was in one of the later packs. Jone Simicic already trying to get a move done on Noah Roivers, but as he pulled out of the slipstream, it's actually opened the door for Ricardo Costa to try and go around the outside. I don't think anyone's going to try that realistically until the run into T3. Let's have a look then. Yuri Toman under pressure from Janis Brakshok. There it is off of T1 and 2, and Janis Brakshok's headed straight to the lead. And there we go. Oh, darting below the white line there. I believe that was Adam Maguire on the inside of Petter Berliak. That one might need to be looked into, as he's not allowed to go below the white line. Standard oval racing procedure. With Jan Vostiker now trying to get himself onto the podium at this very early stage. You never know. You know how that's not playing out too long, is it?
No, it's all chop and change at the moment, and a lot of free wide was actually going on involving Michi Hoyer. Interestingly, on that restart, it's all double filed out now, but there's still a lot of racing going on. Braxtock dives to defend, and Zooks does the same as Vosnica right round the outside of him through 3 and 4. He's going to try and just hang it there through the middle of the corner and then get a great exit, which is what the outside line gives you. But he might have just given the inside line to Noah Roivers, who's got the slipstream of Zooks, while Vosnica's got absolutely no slipstream at all. Roivers is through into 4th instead. Vosnica's going backwards instead of forwards, and now you can see up in front Alan Terzic and Jurnej Simoncic, 2 of the championship rivals, battling hard through 1 and 2. Terzic was drifting up rapidly towards the wall there, but he just managed to keep it out of the wall, and he is consolidating himself in 7th place now, just ahead of Ricardo Costa, who's also right behind those guys. So this is a very, very interesting leading pack at the moment, but once again we're seeing Braxtock and Toman getting away from everybody else, because these guys are battling so hard over the final podium spots that the top 2 are just able to waltz away on these restarts.
Poor Terzic nearly just got taken out by Michi Hoyer there, as that would have been on Terzic. He came right down in front of Michi Hoyer, and if I was Michi, I'd been almost considering lifting out. This is with Jurnej Simoncic. Car starting to look a little bit tight a few laps into this run, and that's where the top 2 that are pulling away might just be using their tyres a little bit too much. This is Ricardo Costa, maybe squeezing up towards the wall there. Alan Terzic ahead, and Michi Hoyer just directly behind, holding the being a bit of a bottom feeder here and holding that white line down. Juan Acco as well, looking pretty good in this race in the hands of Ricardo Costa. Not really so much in the hands of anyone else. It must be said that Chris Shepherd is further up the order than he's been all season, up in 14th place, but dropping off the back of this train. Here's with Francesconi, Adam Maguire to the inside. A pretty easy move there between the sister teammates.
Yeah, as it all fans out again, Ricardo Costa involved, but it's a little bit further up with Roivers and Vosnica who are battling. Roivers back into 4th place, or at least he's on the inside line and trying to take it, as Terzic is using the outside line to try and get past Simoncic, who's been hung out to dry a little bit on the inside line, and maybe even Costa can get through as well, and he can. So Simoncic loses a couple of places. Vosnica going very slowly on the back straight as well. A huge exit from Costa and Terzic, who are able to gain lots of positions. Simoncic fights back almost immediately on the inside of Jan Vosnica, who's falling back from 3rd position, which he was battling for a moment ago. He's struggling to stay inside the top 10.
Vosnica's got a technical problem.
Well.
Vosnica's got a technical problem. He just lagged backwards coming through T3. He also lifted massively. I think he may have a little bit of a computer issue here. Is Jan Vosnica, who's currently in that 8th place. Maybe he's rectified the problem, as Alan Terzic is trying to get done on Noah Roivers, and up at the 4th place. It's been a good run through this stage of the race. For him, Michi Hoyer now trying to fend off as Jan Vosnica's got to grip his car. There's another lag backwards though. There was another lag backwards there from Jan Vosnica. I think there might be trouble brewing there for the Brem GP driver, Noah Roivers, applying pressure to Terzic, and Terzic, I think he might be using a little bit more fuel here.
Looks like it. He was very, very fast on the exit of turn 2. One of those corners there's free wide in the background. It's all going on. And it's all going on here as well inside the top 10 with Casper Stoltz getting past Adam Maguire. He's pretty comfortably through there, actually, and might allow Francesconi to get through also. Look at Berliak. He's right in the middle. Oh, don't force that free wide. That is too early to be going free wide on the straight. As Yuri Toman looks like he has been off, yeah.
What has happened to Yuri Toman? I'm assuming he's lost it coming through 3. He was very slow on the apron across the infield grass. Replay incoming here from Yuri Toman. Let's have a look at what's happened. We're on board with him. Currently running in 2nd place at this point. And I think... Oh, not 2nd place, but... it was. He wanted to pit. Oh, my goodness.
Far too late. Far too late. Yeah, to be going into the pit lane there. You need to be braking a lot earlier. I understand that he might want to be trying not to get rear-ended by somebody, but that's their responsibility and not his. As the battle for 2nd continues, he still hasn't come into the pit lane, so I've no idea what that's all about.
He's struggling. He's been hit.
Caution.
Coming straight out.
Closed.
That was
perfect timing.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was happening there with Yuri Toman. We'll get a replay. I think he tried coming into pit lane again, although he kind of left it so there was a car on his inside. And if you want to get into pit lane, you can't leave the door open, so there's going to be a car on your inside. Let's have a look. This is coming through T1 and 2 with Yuri Toman. It's one of the evolutions. I believe it's Dennis Jordan directly behind. And he's going to drop... Oh, yeah. That's, in my opinion, a little bit 50-50 because Yuri Toman was coming up the road. Let's have a look on board. I'm not sure if Dennis Jordan particularly judged it too well, but let's have a look.
No, I don't think Dennis Jordan judged it well enough.
Well, he could have done better there.
He's
missed the pit lane again.
He can't go in yet because his pit lanes are closed.
Yeah. It's just.
He can't go in yet.
But
and I think all of these guys are going to be in pretty much, apart from those who came under the first caution. Maybe they're going to stay out, but I think everybody else has to come in at this point. They're at the end of their fuel reserves anyway, and they're going to be in as Toman is now into the pit lane. That's not really allowed unless he's about to run out of fuel.
This is the thing. There must have been a significant issue with the car, otherwise you wouldn't have been pitting under green like that. We had a caution period which you were allowed to save fuel on. There must be something going wrong with that car because the fuel tank, even on max mode and clean air and pushing as hard as you can, you're looking at a 25 lap run. We've done 23 laps and he's been needing to pit. I'm going to take a wild assumption here that there is something else wrong with that car. Maybe he's hit the wall and got some damage, I don't know, but something else has gone wrong for Yuri Toman, and in that sense he has gone a lap down, which is pretty big.
Pits open this lap for lead lap cars.
There goes the pits open. Yuri Toman, as reference to those of you watching, is third in the championship after taking a victory back in Portland and a couple of podiums across the season. Third in the championship, so technically one of our title protagonists. Not going well for him.
No, it's not. And the fact that, there's some kind of altercation there under the safety car with Lalu and Jordan, but the pit stops are starting now. Braxok and Zook stay out, so does Ricardo Costa. No idea what that's all about, but everybody else is coming into pit lane. Chris Shepherd, bafflingly, has come into the, or stayed out. It's really not helping Polesny and Toman, who are not able to get their lap back because of that. And so they're stuck a lap down now. Maybe that's why they did it, but still they're going to be losing so much time compared to everyone else. They have to make a pit stop in a minute under green flag conditions, and that is not what you want to be doing, as Thomas Vac has made a short pit stop there to get out ahead of everybody. Alan Terzic has done the same, a bit of a race off pit road there between Vosnica, Roivers and Hoyer. But yeah, Vac has done an interesting strategy call there to get out ahead of the leaders.
I think Thomas Vac has not taken tyres on that stop. He just took fuel and came out, which may work. I think everyone else has taken fuel, even Terzic, who, yes, may be a fair way ahead of Simic. Now Braxok shoots. Ricardo Costa, Chris Shepherd, all come in. And Thomas Vac also comes back in.
Well,
which means that Alan Terzic is now leading the race. What is
going on here? I don't know what is going on at all. Terzic is going to be leading, though, we think. Because, why on earth would you pit on the second lap and not the first one? Braxok and Zook made a mistake on the first one, but it was so obvious that you had to pit.
Absolutely.
That you should have done it on the first attempt. What that has allowed, though, is Yuri Toman now might be allowed to pass the safety car because he's the first man behind.
Yuri, you can go past me.
He might be able to pass. Yes, he is.
Yuri, go past me.
Yeah, there you go. So Yuri Toman is going to get his lap back, and that is crucial for Yuri Toman. The fact that he stayed out under that caution means that he pitted because he had to immediately when he came out. That was emergency service though, but he hasn't pitted under the actual safety car itself, so he's back on the lead lap, whereas Polesny is not. I've got absolutely no idea what is going on in this race right now.
Voiter, you can come past and unlap yourself. Voiter Polesny.
Polesny being told that he can also
do so safely on the high line.
Come through. Yep, in a sense, a lucky dog, just allowed to regain that lead lap. So everyone will be on the lead lap in this scenario as he's racing his way around the outside. That's the car just running around there, which realistically, in this sense, means that for Yuri Toman and Polesny, they're going to be starting from the back of the grid, the two teammates. Not ideal for Varga, but nonetheless, the two Slovenians of Terzic and Simic, who have been battling for the championship most of the way through this order, are going to be 1 and 2 on the restart. Jan Vosnica as well, the young talent, directly behind Roivers. Michi Hoyer up there as well. So we're going to see a pretty fiery restart. It is kind of baffling though. I still don't know what happened to Dennis Jordan in all of that. I do believe he's got his car repaired. We'll see if we can grab a replay of it.
Yeah,
we'll have a look.
we will have a look and see if we can get that one to you. Maybe this is what happened. Oh, there's a big stack up on the back straight. One of the classic safety car things going on at the back of the goodness me. That was really quite strange to see. But yeah, the safety car is about to come in now. Completely baffling strategies going on at the moment.
Oh my god.
And
Okay,
yeah, that's another replay, by the way. That's not happening live.
That can't be happening now.
No, it's not happening again. It's just one of those safety car things that does occasionally happen. We've seen that in real life in F1 very recently. It's just happened here as well. But here we go. Alan Terzic is in control of the field, and he's going to get us underway once again.
Yeah, he's a little bit careless there at the back end. We hopefully won't see that
Green
too
flag,
much.
green flag.
As Terzic is back underway, Michi Hoyer to the outside before the start-finish line, going to gain 4th place on Noah Roivers. Jan Vosnicker as well, trying to get by Jerne Simoncic. One Burst Esports driver gains a position, the other one potentially losing one to the high side of 1 and 2. Jan Vosnicker is going to drop back in line. And Michi Hoyer is looking pretty racy here. We're on board with Hoyer, picking up the slipstream of the cars ahead. And looking for a podium. Look at the overspeed that they've got on Alan Terzic, running into 3 and 4, lifting out of it Jerne Simoncic. Jan Vosnicker on the high side, trying to pick the middle line is Michi Hoyer. No way through though. Jerne Simoncic going to drop down to 3rd place. Jan Vosnicker up to 2nd. Oh, nearly 3 wide there as the 2 burst cars are going to go side by side with Noah Roivers on the outside. Going to try and hold it round, hold it firm. T1 and 2 absolutely pinned, cool as you like, round the outside. Noah Roivers to 4th place. Nice move.
Yeah, that was really, really nice from Noah Roivers to take it 3 wide with 2 of the Burst Esports cars. Is really quite brave indeed, but he's maybe able to make it work, and he's really working on the back of Simoncic already. He is absolutely flying on this restart so far as we complete lap 30. Alan Terzic is not out the water in terms of this race lead either. Peter Berliak right involved in the battles as Terzic goes wide, Vosnicker to the lead now, and Simoncic is coming under fire for his podium spot. Noah Roivers showing himself to be really fast on these ovals, surprisingly quick, but a very pleasant surprise indeed to see Noah Roivers battling, and up there he's onto the provisional podium for now, slots in front of Simoncic, and now he has that 3rd place, looking to maybe chase down the front 2 as well.
Hoyer. Here comes Hoyer, gets right in behind Simoncic. Now he's going to try and get his way. By the moment that he pulls out though, it's just a wall of air. All the slipstream disappears. Peter Berliak nearly had the pace to sort of try and make it 3 wide through the middle. Not the ideal spot to do so. So Roivers to 3rd place, putting Netrex back up towards the front of the field. Michi Hoyer continues to look to the outside of his teammate, but not really finding time to slot it around the outside. Of course, the team's championship will add. Is pretty tight. Evolution, who are currently down in 7th place and 16th place, are leading this team that we're seeing here between Michi Hoyer and Jerne Simoncic. They're leading by 15 points. Of course, if things finish as they stand, they're going to be losing a lot of points to Evolution, and Burst are going to be taking the lead of the championship heading into the final round of the season. Berliak to the outside of Michi Hoyer should be able to get that one stuck, but here comes Alex Ebel. Here comes Michael Francesconi, one of the earlier qualifiers, a driver who's really struggled through the season, is currently down in 26th place with only 20 points to his name. Francesconi well inside the top 10 as these two are nearly bashing wheels.
Yeah, I thought they were going to have a bit of an accident there actually, but Berliak and Hoyer just managing to avoid each other. Great to see Phil Krause in this battle as well as Adam Maguire, who's latching himself on. They're extremely close though, and you can just see as they go through the corner, absolutely nose to tail, and then they fan out on this straight. Look at them all weaving along the straight, trying to find any piece of slipstream they can get. Now round the outside for Siebel, who's trying to make a bit of a move and stay ahead of Michael Francesconi. Phil Krause is getting a great run as well, but he's got absolutely no help at all, no slipstream for him. Can he slot back in front of Adam Maguire? He can. Slaps the door in his face ever so slightly, but it's all fair in the end. A great battle going on for 3rd, almost more entertaining than the battle for the lead at the moment, to be honest, because Vosnicker and Terzic are just single file right now. Terzic is enjoying this slipstream. I think he's saving just a little bit of fuel, Terzic, behind Vosnicker at the moment.
Absolutely, there is a bit of lifting happening here, I'd say, even Jerne Simoncic. I know Michi Hoyer is not trying to pass his teammate here. Running up the high side, Phil Krause getting by potentially on Alex Ebel. We ride on board with Francesconi in 7th place. Now trying to get by the 2015 world champion Peter Berliak, and the top 3. The top 2 and the 3 behind have all pulled away a little bit from this gap. Oh, Berliak's car's getting a little bit tight off of 2. I'm assuming they can make some adjustments to the front anti-roll bar as they've been able to do all season. It's just knowing what that does on an oval setting. Just creates a little bit of difference. You can smooth up your line as well rather than adjusting the car in that sense. But his car's looking a bit tight. Kasper Stolzer as well is getting part of this mix. To the inside is Francesconi as they cross the line. to complete the 36th lap of proceedings. Francesconi, this is a drive of the season from Michael Francesconi, looking for his top 6 at the moment on the inside of Berliak's. Not going to be able to make that one stick. There's Kasper Stolzer diving it to the inside, maybe trying to get by Adam Maguire. There's a crash in the background and caution will be out, surely.
Well, maybe. It was Polesny again, I think. Just a quick spin for Polesny. Nobody else involved. Yeah. Somehow, everybody managed to avoid him. And that was bound to happen, really, in that group behind. Because they've been going almost 4 wide into every corner from what I've seen so far. And this group is not much more calm either. They're actually letting some of the guys get up the road ever so slightly, like Michi Hoyer, Jerne Simicic, who've got a bit of free air at the moment. But it's a really, really entertaining battle to watch. And it's we don't really want it to end at the moment. Francesconi has not been up in these kind of positions for a very long time. Indeed, he hasn't been there all season long. And now he is battling for the likes of the top 5. These positions are just chopping and changing all of the time. But he's trying to gain them at the moment. I think he's just been hung out to dry ever so slightly. And Phil Kraus down the inside using the slipstream of Siebel, very nearly contact into one, and it's forced them both to lift off. And now look at Adam Maguire trying to get on the back of these guys. Also Kasper Stolz is right here, and they all file single file on the outside line. Phil Kraus loses a couple of positions due to that.
Yeah, just clipped the apron on the inside of 1 and 2. It drifted up the circuit, and Kasper Stolz and Adam Maguire were both very aware of what happened. And to be fair, so was Francesconi. Ran it up a little bit higher than he normally would, just to make sure that he's not being hit. By the way, the top 3 are now aligned. Noah Roivers, who has just caught up to the back. Alan Terzic has headed to the race lead in all of this. He's seen that Noah Roivers is coming and thought, right, I'm going to turn the wick up. I'm going to get by Jan Vosdika now. I'm going to take the lead. Jan Vosdika's not having any of that as the lead is about to change once again. Jan Vosdika to the inside at 3 and 4. Going to retake over the lead here in Apple Valley. Alan Terzic, after a couple of race wins this season, is looking to lead some more laps to potentially get his first win on the oval category this season. Coming to cross the line, it is Vosdika leading again, but Noah Roivers is very much a part of it. And the more they battle, the more Jerne Simicic behind comes a part of this. And in the pre-season test, before the season even started, when we had the pre-season test of the ovals, it was Jerne Simicic who was one of the drivers right towards the front, as you would expect in this kind of championship. Now Alan Terzic has started to back out a little bit. Again, back to saving fuel a little bit. 40 laps completed here, coming to complete the 41st. We're a third of the way through the opening oval race of the season, round 5, penultimate round of the entirety in the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR, and Jan Vosdika continuing to lead.
He is indeed. He's got Terzic behind him, but I don't think Terzic is in a particular rush to get through still. However, this is allowing guys to catch back on from behind. Noah Roivers, who's been really, really quite pacey throughout this race, has caught back on, and the 2 Burst Esport cars might get there as well. I don't think this group are, though, because they're battling so vigorously that it's hard to see them gaining any ground on anybody right now. Petr Beliak has just been overtaken by Francesconi, who's flying up the order at the moment. 6th place for him. And next in his sights, it's Jerne Simicic right up in front. He's kind of battling with Michi Hoyer. I think he's kind of using Hoyer as well to save a little bit of fuel, using him for slipstream, because I think he slowed down ever so slightly to let his teammate in front so that he could just get that little bit of slipstream and fuel saving. Big push though. You can see the dirty air is really in effect here, as Siebel now on the left hand side just gets through, there you have it. Siebel getting overtaken by Adam Maguire. Phil Kraus is here as well. Kasper Stolz has caught back on it as well as Zolk shoots, and he's just hit the wall, by the way, as well as Janis Praktok, who are recovering from their strategic mistake a few moments ago.
Yeah, Phil Kraus as well, just behind this, trying to get involved. Cars are looking pretty tight towards this latter point of the race. I will just note that Michi Hoyer has got by his teammate Jerne Simicic as the doors open there for Phil Kraus on the inside. Is they going to make it 3 wide there off the corner? That was super, super tight. Well judged there from Phil Kraus. Goes from 10th to 8th. Kasper Stolzer as well as a part of this, trying to get himself up inside the top 10. Adam Maguire defending to the inside and trying to hold off Alex Siebel and the marching Kasper Stolzer, who we're on board with. John Lacey, Esports Academy driver, teammate of Alan Terzic ahead. Here comes Zolk Schuch. Here comes Janis Praktok, our pole man earlier in the day, trying to go to the outside there. We're back to 3 wide between the teammates. I'm not sure Kasper Stolzer was fully aware of that one. It is pretty crazy back here. Doors open for Janis Praktok to get through on Zolk Schuch. As I was saying, Michi Hoyer got by Jerne Simicic, who seems to be struggling. Schuch in the wall, pretty big style there. Just running off of T2.
It looked like Braxuk had to go right down to the apron to avoid it all as well. Obviously, in those situations, he's not going to be penalised for going below the white line, because he was trying to control his car and trying to avoid a pretty big accident which could have materialised from that. But fortunately, it didn't. and we get to continue on with this battle. I just still can't understand that mistake though from Braxock to not pit under that caution on the first lap. It's caused him to be in this madness now where he could be out front battling for the lead in a much safer position like he was earlier in the race with Yuri Toman, who's meanwhile up into 18th place. That's important for the championship. We will do the maths on that towards the end of the race, but we're not too far away from pit stops now. We've passed 1/3 distance, and now we're getting towards that magic 25 lap marker. But who has been saving fuel? We will know in the next 10 laps who is able to go what length on their tank of fuel, or indeed if we are going to see green flag pit stops. If we don't get a caution in the next few laps, then we are in fact going to see them.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see in that sense. I think Alan Terzic is still saving fuel here. They've all kind of spread out a little bit. Noah Roivers has dropped off the back. The battle for the lead of the race. Jan Vosnica continuing to lead here. Has technically crossed the line consecutively in the lead of the race since lap 32's completion. So has been out there for 16 laps at the front of the field. Alan Terzic has been there almost all of the way. Noah Roivers behind Michi Hoyer. We've got Berliak and Phil Krause who have switched positions for 7th as Krause marching his way up the order. Now he's going to close in on Francesconi. Berliak seems to be struggling with that front right tyre. And the thing is with this, as much as you would normally associate drivers like Dennis Jordan, like Petr Berliak, like Alex Siebel, all with very, very good time management, of course, Jene Simicic. When it comes to an oval, it is a completely different kettle of fish as to how to save tyres, because it's all about how you enter the corner. It's all about how you, genuinely, how you turn. You can't just sort of like throw it in. It's all about being so gentle. And everything's just a little bit different. I think for some drivers, it's very much out of the comfort zone. Kasper Stolzer has dropped right the way down the order. He's now in 14th position behind Zolcic. Borja Milan now trying to get by him into 3 and 4, and he's going to drag Ricardo Costa as well, who has not been having a great run considering his failure to pit for some bizarre reason between everyone else.
Yeah, indeed. And we are seeing actually a pit stop from Braxock again, so it is early this time, but this is going to kick off the green flag pit stops. Maybe he's going for a little bit of an undercut, but I think he's going to head out in a little bit of traffic when he leaves the pit lane. Obviously he's going to lose a lap and a bit, is what we're going to see from these green flag pit stops. But is this going to kick off any more stops in the midfield? I thought Vosnica was staying tight down to the inside too, would go for it then, but he didn't quite. Polesny goes for a pit stop, but I'd imagine his tyres are pretty ruined after his spin, and I can see somebody else coming in. I think that's Suits. Sorry, no, it's Eros Masuli who's going into pit lane along with Yuri Toman as well. So these green flag pit stops are well and truly underway now.
Yeah, they're underway about kind of where we were expecting if they were running it in a sense of maximum press at all times. So it shows what these drivers are doing. A lot of them are pushing hard, a lot of them are saving fuel. This is where the order's going to chop and change. We're going to see different drivers come to the fore as the 2-1 AGCO car switching positions. Ricardo Costa up to 12th place. They're pitters of Yuri Toman and Eros Masuli about to go a lap down here at Apple Valley. Oh, in comes Dennis Jordan. We know he's going to be saving fuel in all of this. He's going to be sat in the back of the pack just thinking, okay, I'll pick up a lap of fuel here, Kasper Stolzer to the inside of Borja Milan, 14th place, but he's going to drift up the track at T2 under the inside. Borja Milan's trying to find his way through, but the momentum's going to go the way of Stolzer. Dennis Jordan as well, he's moving his way up the order. He's beginning his march now. You've got to be there at the end of the race, and he's doing that at the moment, despite the silly incident.
Yes.
Here we go, pitters.
Oh, big spin into the pit lane as well for a couple of drivers. I think Adam Maguire might have been involved as well. Saw a lot of smoke on the entry to pit lane, and we'll see that in a moment. But Vosnica and Roivers are both into the pit lane here, as well as Francesconi, Maguire, Zooks, Van der Neet. They're all big players in this race, and you can see how congested it gets with the amount of weaving in and out of the boxes that these guys actually have to do. It looks like Roivers, Terzic is into the pit lane as well as Jene Simicic. Simicic carries on, but Michi Hoyer comes into the pit lane. It's very cheeky, but very, very nice as well from Jan Vosnica to get the outside line on the exit of the pit lane, and he is back into the net race lead. Will it be ahead of Terzic when he comes out of the pit lane in a moment? We'll see, but who's that coming around the outside? Is that one of the players for this race? Not quite. Those aren't on the same lap, so Vosnica is in the net race lead at the moment with still 11 guys either pitting right now or still yet to pit. We've got Jordan, Costa, Siebel and Simracers who look like they've been saving fuel pretty effectively.
Yeah, Simracers into the pit lane, Alex Siebel staying out, Dennis Jordan staying out, Ricardo Costa into the pit lane. We focus our attention to Alan Terzic, who we're on board with, looking backwards, staring for Jan Vosnicker, who's coming round T1 and 2 now. He's going to get by Michi Hoyer. Is he going to get? He is going to get with the slipstream as well from the car ahead. That's the evolution of Dennis Jordan. Oh, that is Alex Siebel. That is going to clear him. And Jan Vosnicker is going to get through then on Alan Terzic. Michi Hoyer doesn't, so that's fine for him. Noah Roivers is now right back. So the top three that are Siebel and Dennis Jordan both enter the pit lane now. Jerne Simracers is going to be on the apron for T1, and we'll see who gets through on that one. Noah Roivers to the inside of Alan Terzic, but Terzic is going to hold firm on the outside. Jerne Simracers is going to drop the positions as you would expect. Is he going to come up behind Michi Hoyer? Yes, he certainly is, but still ahead of Francesconi. So the top 5 in the race, at least as far as we know: Jan Vosnicker, Terzic, Noah Roivers, Michi Hoyer and Jerne Simracers after their green flag pit stops. All done fairly successfully, I might add. That was an impressive run for them. It's very easy to mess up.
Yeah, it is, and very successful as well from everybody to manage to do that green flag pit stop run without any issues whatsoever. We've now completed them with Siebel and Jordan both rejoining the circuit now, but they're going to drop back just ever so slightly because that's what their strategy, is telling them to do at this stage of the race. They'll come to the fore a little bit later on as we're already approaching half distance. I don't know where the first half of that race has gone. But it's been completely mad so far. Very, very enjoyable as well, though. You can see the undercuts by the likes of Zoltschutz and Jonas Brachtok has worked wonders for those guys. 7th and 8th. They've gained about 5 positions each on that one, and they've avoided battles like this. The one with Phil Kraus for the last position inside of the top 10. Siebel, Toman and Maguire all involved. Toman has done a decent undercut to actually manage to get out in this group. But unfortunately, he's in a big fight right now, and it's a big struggle to get through in these groups. Once you're embroiled in a battle like this, it's very hard to get clear of them.
Third place in the championship and race winner earlier this season, Yuri Toman, though, down in the mid-pack, second position in the championship. Alex Siebel here in 11th and 12th, outside of the top 10, whilst Jerne Simracers, our championship leader, runs in 5th, whilst Alan Terzic, who's 5th in the championship, runs in 2nd. 4th place in the championship, Martin Stefanko is out of the race, unfortunately, courtesy to a disconnection, his second disconnection in consecutive rounds. Francesconi and Schuch switch positions, and Schuch goes up to 6th place as we ride on board with Maguire, seeing this battle ahead as Yuri Toman trying to carry that apex speed and go around the outside, but there's no real space to fit through there. 60 laps nearly complete as we start 59 for these drivers. They're rushing towards the halfway point, but you can see here on the right-hand side of your leaderboard the laps they've pitted. So Yuri Toman is effectively on 5-lap older tyres. He's burning through fuel 5 laps a pit stop faster than the car ahead, which could turn out to be very big later in the race, especially if there's a caution late, they don't take tyres, and Alex Siebel can do a splash, because every 3 litres of fuel, which is roughly about 2 laps, 3 litres of fuel is about a second. So if you're saving 5 laps of fuel, you're saving a couple of laps on that pit stop, which could be absolutely crucial late in the race. Hoyer past Roivers, and trying to get second place on Jan Vosnicker as well, as Terzic leading away. We're on board with Jerne Simracers. Michi Hoyer does get up into second place.
Yeah, Vosnicker must have made a mistake somewhere, along with Roivers as well, because this group is massively packed up now. Look at the run that Roivers has got right round the outside of everybody here into turn 1. Simracers trying to make it 4 wide. Goodness me, that would have been dangerous, but he backs out of it for now. He's now side by side with Roivers while he's watching his teammate Hoyer try and battle with Jan Vosnicker. He's going to get a big slipstream off Terzic, and he might go for the lead. There he goes, diving to the inside line. Very close between these 5 drivers, but such skillful driving from everybody. Vosnicker back to the race lead. Terzic just trying to hang on for second at the moment as they all single file their way out of turn 4 again. That's a great battle, and this is a great battle between these 5, but you can see, by the way, that Simracers is not getting runs on any of these guys. He's definitely using a lower fuel because he's just not gaining any time, even though he's in the blazing slipstream of these drivers behind. He's just not gaining anything, and so that is all the signs of someone who is saving fuel, and that could pay off for him later on in the race. I don't think it's going back to Yuri Toma. I don't think it's the fact that he can't do those laps on his fuel. I think it's purely a fact that he wanted to get out of traffic. He wanted to do the undercut, and it worked out pretty well for him. He got those couple of positions, but you're right. If there's a late race caution, then he could be in a little bit of trouble with the way that strategy has set him up.
From this point, considering when they've stopped, we're expecting still a couple of pit stops from the top lot. It's all dependent on how that works out. Our top 5, though, very much a part of the trainers. Hoyer now under pressure from Roivers. That from Jan Vosnicker is what they would classify in America as an elevator move from one side of the track to the other to get to the inside of Alan Terzic. Fired it through. Brilliant stuff from Vosnicker to retake the race lead, but he has got to do a fair amount to defend from it now. Terzic, though, saving fuel. Further in the background, by the way, Petr Berliak, Phil Kraus have got by Zolcic. He's now dropped down into 9th place. Battling happened. He's now dropped back past Janis Brakshok as well, who's trying to get the order. You see that train in the background. The head of this one is Michael Francesconi with a fair distance to Berliak, Phil Kraus, Janis Brakshok, who's about to be passed again by his teammate Zolcic, who's absolutely fired it into 3 and 4. He's definitely going into the wall. There was far too much commitment there from Zolcic, and I don't think that Brakshok really wants any part of that. Here comes Yuri Toman trying to get the move done on him and move himself inside the top 10, and Alex Siebel directly behind. Also leads Maguire, who's part of this. Thomas Vack, who is a fair way off, the first driver that's not a part of this train. A little bit of contact there between Siebel and Yuri Toman, and Maguire also going to try and get through.
Yeah, it's all very physical in this group, actually. Sux was just kissing the wall ever so slightly on the exit of 4. And he might do it again here. Sends it really deep into these corners, and he barely makes it through the corner. I don't know why he does that. Maybe he's figured out that it is faster for him, but it's not particularly graceful to watch, that's for sure. But a little bit of contact as well. A little bit further down, Toman and Maguire just bumping ever so slightly. As big send up the track there from Toman, and a cutback there from Adam Maguire. Now Ricardo Costa's going to try and get both of them using the slipstream. He's down the inside to turn 3. Has Maguire seen him? Yes, he has, but he doesn't need to give him the space. Ricardo Costa just backs off ever so slightly, gets back into the slipstream, and he's on that inside line. He looks like he's going to see off Yuri Toman here, unless there is something untoward happens. And it looks like he has got the inside line, and he's got the position as well, although the battle is still continuing on. Toman now cedes the position, going back to the bottom, and he goes for the undercut this time, trying to get a bit of a move using the speed from the top of the track right to the bottom, but he's actually having to defend from Ricardo Costa, and round the outside once again for the Monaco driver. This battle just continues on. They just will not stop battling in this group.
They are playing a very, very risky game here with that white line. You're supposed to hold it pretty tight, but a lot of these drivers are flirting with that white line a little bit too much. The thing is, the more comfortable, the more complacent that you get with it, the more likely you have. I think that was a bit of a moment there from Yuri Toman. A couple of cars ahead of Alex Siebel, who we're riding on board with, who's now been passed by Ricardo Costa again. They are flirting with that white line, and it's pretty dangerous, because if you go that slight bit too low, that millimetre too low, it will absolutely send you round, and there's nothing you can do about it. So they've got to be very, very careful whilst they try and get that low. Naturally, here's the two Burst Esports drivers as Noah Roivers has pulled away from Michi Hoyer. Hoyer maybe been called back to sort of service Jone Simicic in a sense, in the same sort of way that you get with the peloton in cycling. I know you'll know about this, Ian. Sat behind someone on a bike, when it comes to slipstream and stuff, you save a lot of energy in the same way, obviously, in a car sense. In this, if you've got your teammate helping you out, as Zolcic makes contact with the wall yet again, I think he's got a friend out there. In the barrier, but that's just saving fuel behind. I think Michi Hoyer might have been called back to Simicic to help.
Yeah, I think that's what they were doing earlier on. As Sux goes way, way wide, he really likes that high line, and I'm not sure it does much for his nervous system, to be honest, because he's really, really flirting with that barrier. And now down the inside goes Adam Maguire. It's going to be difficult from him because he's got no slipstream assistance. Sends it into turn 3. It's good from Janis Brakshok to actually give him the space and the time of day to make that move, and he's got the purchase on the exit of the corner as well as Maguire. He should get this place, although there's battling in front as well, which is giving, that was close, a big slap in the face from Kraus to Berliak, as now Sux is in. He's probably got to repair a bit of damage, I guess, as well as make a pit stop as well. Maybe a bit of an undercut coming out with 50 laps to go. There's one stop after this one for these guys if we run green to the end of the race. And with every lap that goes by, and with every lap, the field gets more spread out, I would argue, so the likelihood of a safety car goes down every single lap you complete under green here. So I think this race does have a higher and higher probability of going to the end of this race with no more yellow flag periods. So that means 2 25-lap stints remaining and only one more stop.
Brackshock in as well. In all of that, Koloksai as well has also been into the pit lane. So a few of these cars seeking service in the early stages of this, maybe going to work together and try and move their way up the order. Phil Krause has closed the gap down to Michael Francesconi. He was doing so well earlier on. Oh, nearly getting close to the barrier. I think there was definite contact between the barrier and Adam Maguire at T4. Here goes Phil Krause grabbing 6th place from Michael Francesconi. There is the HME car of Janis Brackshock on the apron. Yuri Toman coming into the pit lane earlier, as we've said before. Maybe a little bit too early on the pit stops for him, but we'll see how that one works out. He can technically do it with one more pit stop from this point. It's just dependent on when the cautions come out. If there are going to be any more cautions, I'm in agreement with you. Maybe not expecting to see another one this afternoon. Phil Krause takes 6th place then from Francesconi. A nice move to the inside. Pit stops for this lot, all kind of expecting in the next potentially between 5 and 10 laps. That does sound like a large window, and it is a large window. There are certain drivers that are going much, much further. On the previous pit stop, Alan Terzic went 29 laps. Jone Simoncic went 30.
Yeah, so there could still be 10 laps to go for those guys. If you see on the right-hand side of the graphics, on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see now that Simoncic is just completing his 20th lap. If he's able to do one of those stints again, he'll be doing 30. But I don't really see the point because he's not going to be doing a 35-lap stint to the end of the race. So he could come in for a bit of an undercut, in my opinion. That's a much more smart thing to do. But he's still on that fuel-saving strategy. It could pay dividends for him if there's a caution. But as we keep saying, I don't think there is going to be another caution now, if I'm honest. Although that is a bit of a jinx. As I say that, there nearly is one. Berliak and Costa and Maguire getting involved here. And there's got to be a pit stop for some of these guys coming up pretty shortly as well, but they all stay out once more. Yeah, I think it's really time for these Burst Esport cars to start turning up the wick a little bit and starting to use some of their pace that they clearly have.
Yeah, that was a very sharp move there as Maguire. I think there was a definite brush between himself and Berliak ahead. It was tight. It was tight. I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to see that myself. You've got to be careful with moving in that sense. Oh, Alan Terzic is in the wall. Not hard. Oh, that was a pretty large boff at 4. Alan Terzic, though, making contact. The same that we've seen from Zolt Schuch. I wonder if his car's going to be damaged from that. He's definitely going to get some suspension damage. Whether it actually affects his performance is a different sense. Thomas Vack into the pit lane. But there was definite contact between Terzic and the wall, and halting the progress as Jan Bosnick has nearly pulled the lead out to a second on the back stretch. I don't think it's going to be quite that much when we hit the line, though, because the slipstream coming back into it for Terzic. He's a little bit more careful there through 3 and 4. The thing that really costs you in 3 and 4 is the same with any D-shaped oval as Berliak's to the inside of Maguire, is turn 1 and 2, you've got a very wide entrance in. And so you can kind of take that long arc through and it's nice and safe and it's fine. Yes, the wall does come at you a little bit at the end, but it's okay. But because it's such a tight entrance to 3 and 4, that turning point is actually quite hard. The banking comes in and sort of, it doesn't start immediately, so you've got to work into that banking. It's very hard to sort of hold it down. Jan Bosnick into the pit lane, by the way, from the race lead after 25 laps on his fuel. Alan Terzic, we're expecting to go a further 4 or 5. But I'm sure he might be nursing a little bit of damage. Definitely turn off damage repair.
Yeah, or even, well, he could repair it, I guess, but it doesn't seem to be hampering him too much. Obviously, straight line speed is the real worry here. I mean, getting suspension damage would be pretty bad as well, but that's quite unlikely. Yeah, Terzic's straight line speed is the main worry for him at the moment, as Vosnica back out onto the circuit with still 42 laps to go. A bit of an awkward time, really, but most of these guys...
That's going to be in front of Simoncic and Hoyer.
He's back in front of the
There's got to be a safety car.
Terzic, he's hit Terzic of all people. That's got to be a caution. And
there
it is.
That called so late.
That has caught... Wow, that is a massive caution. Massive call there as well. Terzic has retired. That could be his end of the championship for him as well. I think it probably is. That is so huge in this race, though, because there's only 13 cars on the lead lap here. This absolutely changes everything.
that caution came out far too late. I mean, it wasn't too late for Alan Terzic, but nearly involved in that was Simic and Hoyer as well coming through. If this is on board with Alan Terzic, you're going to see on the left-hand side, it's not going to be pretty, ladies and gentlemen, so hang on. Oh, that's so silly. That is so unbelievably silly. I'm going to get a little bit harsh here. There's white lines for a reason, though, right? And he dipped it below the white line on the left, and that's where there's a bit more apron. And so obviously what that's done is it's just fired the car to the left. We'll ride on board with Jan Woznica. Watch his left-hand side wheels as he comes out of pit lane, releases that pit limiter. There's the bump.
You can go past.
No, he wasn't as close to
He
the wall as I
wasn't doing
thought.
anything wrong there for me. I don't think he was doing well, apart from losing the car.
Apart from losing the car.
That's a pretty big one.
Okay, no, fair enough. He didn't touch the white line.
Yeah.
But you've got to know that bump's there.
Yeah, within the rules, he's not done anything wrong. However, and he's pushing very hard. Clearly, he's fighting for the race win. He was fighting for the race win. Now he's out of the race, of course. But yeah, it's pushing hard for the race win. I find it hard to blame Woznica there. I know some people think that if you do lose the car, then it's even more your fault for causing an accident. But I don't really subscribe to that, to be honest. I think it's just one of those things, really. It's one of those things at ovals, particularly. Where else do you have sketchy pit exits like that? And you're almost never driving such a sketchy car like that. These cars are meant to be going fast, 220 miles an hour, just turning left around corners, not accelerating around corners with cold tyres. That's just not what they were really built for. So I find it hard to blame Woznica in that situation, but it's completely changed the face of this race.
Yeah, it really has. Who it has swung to, though, we'll have to wait and see, because the thing is, here's the important thing to note. By the time that we go green again, there's going to be around about 30...
Pits open this lap for lead lap cars.
34, 35 laps, more like 34, as the pits are now
please
reopened
roll a bit quicker,
again.
we're 200 Ks.
With that sort of time period of lap time, as we've got some battle here, as I think it's Thomas Vack trying to get a lead lap back or something like that. He's staying out. Anyway, to the point, they aren't going to be able to do a full stint until the end of the race. They're going to have to make another pit stop. So there is going to be a green flag pit stop. And I don't think you're going to be able to save that many laps of fuel, no matter what mixed mode you're in, going at a decent speed. I would not want to be a race engineer right now with when that caution has come out at literally the worst possible time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's too far to save fuel to the end for these guys who are pitting right now. So everybody's making one more stop in this race for me. As we get a big race off pit lane there, let's hope everybody is nice and clean and within the rules. There we go. And that is all okay. So now officially we have 19 cars on the lead lap, but they are at the front of the train. Most of them are anyway. Everyone down from Brackstock onwards are down behind the safety car now, and none of them pit, obviously, because they all want their lead lap back. And so they will find Noah Roivers, who's now leading this race, and they will let the cars join back to the back of the train, because they are effectively on the lead lap, and we will do that here in a moment.
Okay, lap cars, you may overtake me up to...
Roivers
lap
is
cars
the word he's
overtake,
looking
lap
for
cars
there.
overtake.
Yeah.
The command coming in then from our...
Stay in your order, though. Do not overtake each other. Stay in your order.
Slap banging your head against a bit more sometimes. Why would you go to the inside?
Racing drivers are not very cooperative, are they? We're just... really...
I got a message, by the way, in a group chat saying that Alan says that the car is very easy to lose like that, so he understands the scenario, but it's just a bit of an unfortunate a time sink for him.
Yeah, it was such an unfortunate incident, and I do feel sorry for them both.
We're just playing different harsh sides of it. You're playing good cop, I'm playing bad cop.
Yeah, I know, really. I'm trying to be nice out here, but
Lewis
is just out here slapping everybody down. It's all your fault.
It is easy to do. It is easy to do, and I will say that. Fair enough, but come on, this is IndyPRO. Come on.
Yes, that is true. I agree.
Of course, there are still a lot of oval rookies on the grid, and it is very easy to lose your car like that, especially over the bump. But it's dead embarrassing, though. Poor lad.
Yeah, well, as I said, I do feel sorry for them both. It's a shame to see them both go out like that, and it's a shame to see Alan Terzic's championship charge, and like that. He's had a pretty poor last couple of rounds, really. VIR didn't go his way. This race hasn't gone his way either, really. And so, I do feel for him particularly. But he's able to go into the Indy 300 next week completely pressure-free, and he might be able to come up with a surprise victory. You never know. As it looks like the lap cars have almost taken it upon themselves to go and unlap themselves. I didn't hear the call, but they've gone. Polesny, Mashuli, and Stoltz will be able to get back on the lead lap. So we have 22 cars remaining on the lead lap, and they will all be ready. We'll be ready for a restart here in a couple of laps. But everybody is still making a pit stop in this race, unless somebody who pitted under the last caution are doing something insane on the fuel saving.
That's a late call from safety car driver Cameron Roger there. On the back stretch, everyone's going to have to line in. Safety car in this lap, the completion of the 86th lap. So still plenty of time to go for these drivers. And as you said, there is still an expected pit stop. No Roivers at the moment leading the field from Francesconi, Van der Neet, Chris Shepherd, Borja Milan. All drivers we're not really, some of them not really expected to see up here. At the moment, as things stand, which obviously we're expecting things to change, Jone Simoncic will be pulling 1 point out further in the championship lead over Alex Siegel, who's directly behind. Green flag in the air. No Roivers in the lead to complete the 86th lap. In that race lead, the 3-1 Akos going side by side, all three wide, and slotting it through the middle. Michi Hoyer as well with Peter Berliak. Oh, this is very dodgy back here. There's all trying to catch it as the tyres are very, very cold and getting up to temperature. Jone Simoncic is being escorted up the road as it's danger zone for him. Oh, I would not want to be in his boots as he was being held up there by Peter Berliak. And behind him, you've got Janis Bratchuk who was trying to push his way through. Yuri Toman on the inside up to 11th place. He's going to be running it up wide, though. They're very, very close to contact, but no death just yet. Oh my goodness me. The danger zone is very much in effect. It's into the barrier, goes Zolcic once again, but on the straight as they're four wide. Oh my goodness me. We've got Janis Bratchuk in there. We've got Alex, we've got Kasper
Caution, pit's
for a gap
closed.
that doesn't exist. And there is the death.
Wow, that was always on the cut. Look at this at the moment. Absolute chaos for all of these guys. Caution back out there on the circuit. It was an extremely exciting battle, but I'm afraid it didn't last very long because it was extremely dangerous at the same time, trying to push it 4 wide. We're going to see it here once again on board with Phil Kraus, who's got one of the Burst Esports cars just getting up in front of him. Look at the runs people get from behind. And we'll see whose fault it really was yet. It was Stoltz coming down ever so slightly on Kraus. Such fine margins in these battles. You just saw it was a very, very slight move to the left-hand side.
Damaged cars
when you're travelling at that speed, it's such a slight movement, but it just caused that whole accident. And that is the kind of fine margins that you have to watch out for in these races. Unfortunately, it's caught out about half a dozen cars, but now we come up against an interesting predicament for these cars. I think everybody's going to, if I was the driver, I would come in now and to make my last pit stop, because if you pit now, you will make it to the end of the race with fuel saving.
So Evolution were involved in that with both cars, whilst Michi Hoyer and Jone Simoncic way up the order. That's big for the championship in the team's sense of things. Kasper Stolzer just misjudged it. He was just trying to push it a little bit too hard through there. Misjudged it. Went for a move that realistically, with 30 laps left on the clock, is not a move that you go for. The pit lane not open yet, so awaiting that call, and then they'll come in and service the cars. It's not ideal there, but for Noah Roivers and that lot at the front of the field, they're sat there thinking, God, what's just happened? But for this lot, could be the golden ticket, because when they come in, if they get enough fuel, which they, obviously you're going to come in and fill the tank. If you're careful with the fuel and you can get to the checkered flag, it's still going to be a bit tight for some of these drivers. But that said, it is basically like a golden ticket. You've been for the likes of, let's be honest, for the likes of Borja Milan, who's been facing the day down sort of in 14th, 15th, that kind of area.
Cars.
He's moved up to 4th place. Now he's been moved not only through maybe saving a little bit like on the previous start by maybe not taking this and not taking that, but he's now on kilter with everyone else.
Yeah, he's in a great place at the moment. I think most of the Monaco cars are, which is a remarkable turnaround. Most of the Netrex cars are as well. Roivers and Van der Neet are staying out. A lot of these cars are staying out. I would be straight into the pit lane. Jone Simoncic is. I know it's not a full rich fuel to the end, but Burst Esport have got this absolutely sorted, as always. So have Evolution. Very tactically astute teams, of course, but loads of people have made a grave error here, I think. If there's no more cautions, I find that hard to believe now, to be honest. There probably is going to be another caution in this race, despite what I said a little bit earlier on. But you know, I think they've made a grave error here. All of the guys in the top 14, I think they've made a catastrophic error. And they might have just handed it to Burst Esport and Evolution Motorsport to fight this out for the win.
Yeah, somehow after, like, this is the thing, this is what's going to happen here, is that provided they've not been affected in the straight line speed, which is very possible from the damage they've had, Dennis Jordan and Alex Siebel, who are both involved in that crash, have been able to come into the pit lane, repair the cars, you'd hopefully in their fullest intent. But they've also made this pit stop, so they, realistically from this point, especially considering how they are on fuel, they'll be good to go to the end, as are Burst, as might be Eros Masuli as well, whilst all these lot haven't. So from a scenario where you're looking at it thinking, wow, they're never going to get in it for the championship, that's almost championship done. Because no one else pitted, Petr Beliak's now come into the pit lane, maybe seen the error of his ways. They may not lose out anywhere near as much as we expected. They've got a 15-point lead in the championship, have Evolution, between Alex Siebel and Dennis Jordan.
Zooks and Kasper Stolzer, you may unlap yourself. Zooks and Stolzer. As the high line.
Simracers and Hoyer, 15 points over them. This could mean that we've got a very, very fiery teams championship between, of course it has to be, Burst Esports and Evolution Motorsports, as it was in the World Championship.
Yeah, it's almost an exact repeat, and it's almost as close as it was back then. So it was a dead heat.
Take a bit of effort to get quite as close as that.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't put it past them, to be honest. The way FSR's been in the last few years, it's been incredibly close. And that championship went right down to the wire in Interlagos, absolutely tied on points, which was fantastic to witness, and thoroughly enjoyed that. I think we're going to see a very similar thing here today. Came in 15 points apart. Now with the demise of Williams Esports here today, Stefanko retiring, disconnecting, and Beliak not having the greatest races he's ever had, down in 17th, which is not a disaster, but it's not his greatest race either. I think he will be. I think those guys are slightly out of the picture as well. So obviously we've still got that drivers' battle that's still going on between pretty much everybody inside the top 10 still. But the teams is still very, very interesting as well. But somebody else coming into the pit lane there. A lot of people deciding on second thought they might actually be a good idea to pit here. Wojtek Polesny
Dennis
is now
Jordan
into the pit
and
lane.
Alex Siebel back in. Phil Kraus maybe just trying to.
Up.
For those people that are lower down, it's actually a very good shout.
Safety car
coming in for a little bit of a splash.
Of this lap.
Safety car coming in at the end of this lap.
That might be their problem if they miss the boat here. If they are miss the back of the train.
Yeah, this is why the call needs to be earlier than that.
Well, it's pretty early for me out of turn 2.
It should be on the start. It should be on the start-finish line though. Just a bit of hard work. It's fine. It's all good. I'm just going to critique our race director. It may not work out then for Alex Siebel and Dennis Jordan, who have pitted, assuming they're going to gain from this. If not, they're going to gain massively because they'll be up to speed by the time that these all come round. Either way, then the completion of lap 94 here, and it is Noah Roivers who is leading the field again. Will get the call. Will Alex Siebel close up? They're just coming through 3 and 4 now. You can see they're on the map in the right-hand side, so they are going to lose out quite a hefty amount.
Green flag.
But they will have a little bit more fuel, a little bit more safety. We start again, hopefully, for the final time, as Noah Roivers leads once again from Francesconi, from Van der Neet, who's got Borja Milan, Ricardo Costa going side by side behind this. There you've got the 2 Burst cars already coming through. Michi Hoyer just trying to find his way through as Chris Shepherd and Yuri Toman all coming to blows. There's going to be near contact there with Michi Hoyer as Chris Shepherd's trying to find his way through, gets into the slipstream of the German ahead. Ricardo Costa
caution.
down, and here comes another crash. We were doing so well earlier today.
Oh dear, half of the Wanako team are out, well, not out of it completely, but down the order, way down because of that incident, arguably caused by Shepherd on first viewing.
I think it was Costa.
Okay, we'll have a replay and then we'll fully digest what has just taken place there. But Costa right out of the race, out of the running here. We're going to see his demise. Didn't have much to do with it, to be honest.
No, Costa turned down. Yeah,
okay. We'll see if we can get a bit of a... Here we go. This is the view that we were looking for 3 wide. I don't actually, yeah, it probably was Costa turning down. I don't think he quite realised he was 3 wide there. Turned in as if there were only 2
catch
cars.
Up to me.
Yeah, easily done.
There were 3, in fact. So that is a very unfortunate incident.
Pits open this lap for lead lap cars.
Yep, cautions breed cautions. Yep. For those of you that have watched American Motorsport will have heard that phrase an awful lot, especially as we head into the dying moments of the race. The desperation starts to come in for Ricardo Costa there, turning down. Like you say, he probably just didn't realise there were 3 wide, but the same as with like Casper Stolzer earlier and sort of like trying to slot through the gap. Thankfully, the I guess in a way, the damage model in this sense in R-Factor 2 is fairly forgiving. So they've actually been very fortunate, in my opinion. It is now, though, a Burst Esports 1-2 as Michi Hoyer heads to the front of the field. Jene Simoncic, for the likes of Alex Siebel and Dennis Jordan, who lost out with the late call for the restart, they're now 8th and 9th, but they're very much a part of the train and with a little bit more fuel in hand than the cars ahead of them. But then the cars behind will also have even more fuel, so they'll be able to stick it in full mix until the end of the race. The likes of Michi Hoyer, Jene Simoncic may have to still save a little bit. It won't be too much, but it may just be, you know, point what of a litre here and point blip of a litre there.
Well, this is helping them. These cautions are really helping them save this fuel, and they'll be doing a lot of lifting and coasting, cruising in 6th gear, I'd imagine, at this point, so that they can just keep the revs as low as possible, save as much fuel as possible. But unfortunately for us, no DNFs out of that crash there. So the 22 drivers out of 26 who are still remaining in this race are going to be gridding up right now and getting ready. I wonder if we're going to get the call from race control that the safety car is coming in on this lap, or are we going to have one more? It looks like we might have one more, unless it's a late one. But so 21 laps to go when we go back racing once again, and this is exactly what I thought would happen, to be honest, under the last caution. To be honest, if there was another caution, everybody would come in, and those guys who came in under the first one would go right to the front. So Roivers, who was in a position to win the race, is now having to work his way past 11 cars, whereas Burst Esport haven't had to overtake anybody.
Safety
They've just taken the race win.
At the end of
not
this
the race
lap.
win, but they've taken the race lead at the very least.
Oh, I think Cam's listening to me. Sorry, lad. Just as an FYI, what will happen if everything finishes as it is? You know, you've obviously got to take that with a pinch of salt. It definitely won't. When it comes to the team championship, if Burst Simplexity Esport finish 1 and 2, and say for example that Alex Siebel and Dennis Jordan make no progress from where they are, they finish 8th and 10th, then the championship will swing into the favour of Burst Simplexity, as you would expect, but not by as much as you would expect. You would kind of think from this position, with only a 15-point margin, Burst Simplexity Esport would be running away with it.
160Ks.
There would be 6 points between them going into the final round of the season in that team's championship. So plenty to play for. Of course, there are prizes for them for the team's championship, and for that, they'll need to work together. Both of those teams. We know that Burst and Plexity Esport works together. We know that Evolution
going
together. We are about to get underway once again. Michi Hoyer then, as we pass lap 99 on to lap 100 with 20 laps to go. The leads the race from Jene Simoncic, and they all fan out behind. Phil Kraus, you've got the 2 Evolution Motorsports cars going side by side a little bit back there as well. So Phil Kraus with Masuli, Siebel, Schuch. Siebel gaining a position up to 6th place. It's important for that team's championship. Dennis Jordan's under pressure from Noah Roivers behind. He's not really fared too well across that restart. They're 3 wide as Phil Kraus is trying to find his way through. Zolt Schuch on that high line. We're on board with Janis Brakshock in the HME white car. Now trying to battle it for the race lead. Peter Berliak trying to slot his way through. Won the opening race of the season, did the Williams Esports driver, in a slight mistake on strategy, but it still worked out for him. Trying to go for the race lead. He's passed Michi Hoyer. He's trying to get past our championship leader, Jene Simoncic as well. Drops back into the slipstream, pulls back out into the clean air. There's the white car of Brakshock as well coming to the high side. Not able to slot it through. And I think Jene Simoncic is going to be able to hang on at least for now.
Yeah, just look at that. We've come full circle here because Janis Brakshock, after falling away early on, qualifying on pole earlier, he's now trying to go back to the lead as we've got a crash in the background, actually in the middle of the field. But falling way down the order there is Casper Stotz again there. He's been involved. We'll get a view as to what happened there. I saw one of the, I believe it was one of the Wanaco or Netrex cars falling down quite dramatically as well. It might have been Van der Neep. Yeah, another 3 laps of racing, another 2 laps of racing really, and another unfortunate incident, I'm afraid. Here's the replay of what's happened. Oh, this is very busy. I can already see that this is not going to end well. Kasper Stoltz is on the outside line here, and what happens? He goes to... Oh, that's a misjudgment, if ever I've seen one. On the back of one of the NetRex cars. That was very easily avoidable, I have to say.
I mean, if there's one type of car that on ovals that you shouldn't be bump drafting, it would be these ones. Oh, yeah, he just totally misjudged pulling out there for Kasper Stoltzer. Not sure how much oval experience Kasper's had. Very, very fast when it comes to road course, and has done very impressive stuff in the couple of road course races that he did. But unfortunately, that one's not so good, and we are back under caution once again. What started out, by the way, as a very, very good race.
Okay, let's try and not finish under caution, please. Let's
in about
try and
70
have a nice
laps.
last few laps of this race once we go green.
There we
You
go.
did pretty good in that middle of the race. I'm sure we can do it again.
There we go. This for anyone who's done oval racing in the league that Oscar Hardwick's run, he and anyone who's seen any clips of it will absolutely know how he's like when it comes to cautions and stuff coming out in his race, because he's much less polite than Cam was there. Cam's just like, oh, come on, let's all just finish it. And Oscar will start, effing and jeffing and telling everyone they need to stop driving silly. I kind of get the feeling in this sense he would be very much in that category right now. Everyone needs to just behave themselves. We had such a good start to the race, and hopefully the final 12, 13 laps will be done caution-free, touch wood, and
Pits
clean
open
racing.
this lap.
Pits open. Is anyone going to take the call apart from damaged cars, though? That's the question.
Someone
Safety
down the
car
back
will be in
might.
at the end of the next lap.
It might as well. If you're towards the back, if you're the likes of Danny Vandenette, who is in the pit lane, if you're the likes of Kasper Stoltz, maybe even Ricardo Costa, that kind of you might as well just take the fresh tyres.
Yeah, exactly.
It may not gain you too much, but it may just be that difference between going around the outside in the final lap and not being able to do so.
Yeah, he's down the back anyway, and if he pits, he's going to be down the back as well. So you might as well try. But with only one lap until the safety car's coming in, I think he's decided that it's not worth the effort, and he might not get back onto the back of the train if he does do that right now. So he's deciding that he is going to stay out just for the moment. Maybe if we get another one, he'll chance it. But either way, the safety car is going to, or the caution,
safety car,
pace car, whatever it's called.
This lap, drivers line up 160Ks. Let's try and make this one green to the end. Let's go.
There you go. Whatever it's called. Into the pit lane at the end of this lap, as Cam Rogers says. Pulls away from the field once again. Slows down and now is in control of it's Jone Simoncic who is in control here now, with Berliak, Braxop and Kraus are all behind him.
Indeed, Michi Hoyer, who's dropped down the order, is going to be they're going to be losing that 6-point gap they would have been building to Evolution, who are now 6th and 7th.
Going flag.
Are 1st and 5th. Back underway for hopefully the final time. 15 laps left on the clock. We're already side by side as Michi Hoyer has made a very good start, potentially too good,
yes.
I add. Has gone from 5th to 2nd. Not quite sure how he's been able to pull that one off. It's a burst 1-2 once again as Seabor's making his way up the order up to 5th place as they're all fanning out on the backstretch. We're back to 2 and 3 wide. Let's keep our fingers crossed, ladies and gentlemen, as to the race lead. What a drive that is from Petter Berliak. Picked up the inside, lovely. Trying to slow it through the inside though. The HME red car though of Phil Kraus trying to find his way through. Oh, this is getting very, very scary. I would not want to be a part of this with 3 wide over the start-finish line as it's Janis Brakshock, Zoltz Schuch, Alex Siebel trying to pick the inside. This is classic Apple Valley racing. The 2-mile Speedway providing some crazy racing. 3, 4 wide the background into the barrier. There goes the NetRex car of Noah Roivers. No caution, did not coming through. Oh, Alex Siebel dipping below the white line to get underneath Michi Hoyer as we run into 3 and 4, leading the race. It is still Berliak from Kraus, from Simoncic, Siebel, Michi Hoyer behind.
Yeah, this is insane action at the moment. Really, really exciting stuff, and a great move from Berliak to take back control of this race lead. Ever since Hoyer had that really good start though, he's only been falling down the order as now Kraus is on the outside of Berliak trying to make this work, with Simoncic watching on in behind. Kraus goes from the outside to the inside now, trying to get up into turn 3. It's going to be very, very close between them. Simoncic hanging out wide, trying to get a bit of a run on all of them. As he gets the place actually. Kraus is going to be in the lead at the flag there, and there it is. 12 laps to go still in this race. We've seen some great racing so far. It's continuing right now with Phil Kraus in the lead, Petr Berniak trying to save his championship almost in second place at the moment.
Yeah, indeed he is. See how it all unfold over the final 10 laps of the race. And of course, through the Indy 300, there was a little bit of contact there in the background as the one echo of Borja Milan, who's having his drive of the season. Went to the inside though. Phil Kraus trying to take the lead, home soil. And Phil Kraus is going to head to the front. 10 laps to go on the board, 11 really. And Berliak there deposed to second place. Jone Simičić saving fuel in the background. Alex Siebel also trying to get a part of this. Second in the championship for Siebel. Mr. Consistency, been on the podium only 2 times this season, but is right up there when it comes to the championship challenge. The doors open for a potential 7th consecutive podium from Jone Simičić. But look at this. Here comes Siebel picking up the slipstream. Phil Kraus defending the way from Petr Berliak. On the inside, Alex Siebel gets there for 3 and 4. Throwing it in is Jone Simičić. We ride on board with Berliak. And Kraus is just going to hang on, but I think they're going to be side by side across the line. And this, take a picture of this, because I think this is how we're going to see this race end. It is going to be very tight when we cross the line.
It is indeed. Oh, it's very tight into turn 1 as well there in the background. Boy, I'm very
caution.
involved as we have a caution flag out. It is for Jukka-Pekka Laulu, who is stopped at the start-finish line. And with 9 laps to go, this is going to be a real dash to the flag with about 5 laps probably when we go back green.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's all just hold our breath and hope we can get to the end. We can see the race finish that we are so desperate to see. Ooh. Oh, there it is. Janis Brakshock as well. Is that the Evolution? It is the Evolution.
Must be Jordan then, yeah.
Dennis Jordan, yeah. Wow. Very much a part of that. That could be big when it comes to the championship. Let's have a look. We're on board with Janis Brakshock. The Vargason racing car behind. Oh, yeah. Just,
big misjudgment there.
Yeah,
huge.
Did not judge how much Janis Brakshock was going to slow down there on the inside of 1 and 2, and that's what can only be described as not ideal.
No, that was not ideal for anybody, really. I'm trying to work out who that was. I think it was Polesny who hit the back of Brakshock there. And that means that he is into the pit lane, as well as Lalu, who seemed to have had his own accident at some point along the way. Yeah, it's just been a crazy last couple of laps. It was great battling. It was very clean at the front, but a little bit more messy in the background. That's what we didn't really see. Yeah, a couple of laps under caution here, and then we'll be back under green with less than 5 laps to go. Probably it's going to be a real dash to the flag, and hopefully it's a clean one.
Yeah, well, we will hope there's a clean one, because you know what will happen if we end under caution. You'll get one of those classic Lewis McGlade rants where I'll just rip into the field for like 5 minutes, which isn't worth it for anyone's time. So let's wrap this up in the cleanest fashion possible. I think if we do end under green, it'll be
Pits
a very close
lap.
finish, naturally, as you would expect. The closest finish on memory was that one, the first round of the World Championship, right at the start of the year. For those of you that can remember, it was Michi Hoyer and Jone Simičić coming out the final corner at the Malaysian Grand Prix. They were separated by 0.064 of a second. So very close between the two of them. Obviously, with ovals and stuff, we can see that margin dipped much, much lower. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that we do indeed see that.
Jukka-Pekka, you can unlap yourself.
Kraus, though, leading the way at the moment from Berliak. He would be looking quite well to take victory here. We've seen some good pace from Phil Kraus. He's finished 4th place earlier in the season at Portland in the feature race. We see a podium from him. Could we see a race victory from the American?
I think the fact that he is American means that the oval racing is a little bit more in his blood than the rest of them, who are mostly European for the most part on this grid right now. So yeah, I think that might give him a little bit of an edge, even though Kraus might not be the oval specialist as such. He's a very fast road course driver and very fast driver overall. Yeah, the fact that it's just in an American's blood a little bit more than maybe the Europeans, where oval racing is not quite as big, maybe that will give him a little bit of an advantage. But all bets are off really when we go back to green here in a moment. It's just going to be
in this lap.
Man versus man at the front of the field. It's just going to be absolute chaos. Hopefully it's clean, but we are in for a very, very exciting final 5 laps here.
We'll keep our fingers crossed that that is indeed the case. The penultimate round of the season here in Apple Valley, ready to get underway, hopefully for the final time. The call from Cameron Roger as he'll disappear on the back straight into the pit lane, and the race will be back underway. Is it going to be a 7th consecutive podium from Jurnej Simicic? If he even gets a top
line
4,
up 160k.
if he even gets a top 4, he would not finish outside of the top 4 positions at any point throughout the 2020 season in the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR. Can Phil Kraus do it? Can Peter Berliak do it? Can Jurnej Simicic do it? It would be a 3rd victory for Jurnej Simicic. It would be a 2nd victory in potential for Berliak, and a 1st for Phil Kraus. A 1st for Alex Siebel if he can get in there as well. Borja Milan inside the top 5 as well. We are back underway with 5 laps on the clock, and Phil Kraus, the American, leads the order round. Deep breaths in the back of the pack. Let's hope we can get to the checkered flag in one piece. Berliak to the outside at T1 and 2. Going to hold it firm on the outside, slipping and sliding, trying to find their way through. Berliak with the momentum, but here comes Alex Siebel. Oh. Where's he going to go? Oh, he had so much speed. He could have picked the inside, but decided just to wait at least for now. The outside, Berliak to the race lead. He is going to get there. Phil Kraus on the inside is just going to get pinched here from Zsolt Szuc as well, who's trying to get himself onto the podium. Nearly losing it though, big style. My goodness me, 4 laps to go. Peter Berliak to the race lead. Here comes Jurnej Simicic making it 3 wide to the outside at 1 and 2. Close your eyes, ladies and gentlemen, because this is going to get pretty sketchy. Backs out of it though and drops back behind Phil Kraus, who's retaken the race lead.
Yeah, and there's somebody in the wall in the background, but they are going to be out of it, I think, not affecting anybody in this race at the moment, as we're 3 wide again into turn 3. On this occasion, Kraus defends again from Berliak, who's able to sweep back underneath through turn 4, and he's got the inside line as they go towards the start-finish line, absolutely side by side. That's the kind of thing that we could see on the very final lap as they rub on the straight, trying to go into turn 1 at the moment. Berliak getting that position away from Kraus, but the HME car just using that outside line to get the run of the exit of the corner as well, and he's going to get the race lead back as they're all double wide at the moment. Looks like a rolling restart right now, but they head into turn 3 and all chaos kicks off once again. It's so close between these guys, but so great to see at the moment. Absolutely insane racing between all of them. 2 laps to go as Philip Kraus still leading this race.
Bottles will be earning their money today if we've got some about, because you're definitely going to need it. Crew chief is going to be turned up to the max. Zsolt Szuc nearly losing it there on the inside of the championship leader, Jurnej Simicic, as we fan from one side of the circuit to the other. Francesconi having the drive of the season, cutting back across. Alex Siebel there. Oh my goodness me, so tight. He's going to run wide at 3 and 4. Berliak, though, under pressure from the Slovenian Jurnej Simicic, is going to get to the outside as he tries to pull it down to the inside once again. You've got Alex Siebel, who's going to get past from Zsolt Szuc as well. Michael Francesconi looking for a top 5 as well. Final lap of the race. Phil Kraus, the American, leading here on home soil. Who's going to be taking victory? He's got a good few car lengths, but here comes the slipstream, and here comes the charging pack behind. Peter Berliak, 3 and 4, one final time. Here comes the slipstream. Who is going to come out on top? There we go. Right, we're back in with it. Don't panic. We've got Phil Kraus then going to come across the line, and he is going to take victory here in California. And it's Peter Berliak leading just from Jurnej Simicic. What a fantastic end to the race. Unfortunately, I had a technical issue at the end there, but Phil Kraus, what a victory. What a stunning drive, pulling it away at the end and taking victory here in California.
Yeah, fantastic drive from Phil Kraus, and personally great to see him actually manage that, and also fantastic to see us get to the end of that race clean and green in the end. It was brilliant and well worth the wait as well. Kraus able to soak up all of that pressure to hold on, which is not an easy thing to do at all. Behind it was Jurnej Simicic's 7th podium in a row with another 3rd place finish here in Apple Valley. He gains points on all of his championship rivals apart from Berliak, who is now 60 points behind heading into the final race, which is a big margin, and we'll see if that can be closed towards the end of that race. But we have the donuts now from Kraus, who is celebrating that victory, and he very much deserves it as well. A great drive, great of him to soak up all of that pressure from Berliak towards the end of that race, and he is celebrating in style now.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be sending some data to Alan Terzic as to how to do a donut when he tried it at Sebring. Stalled the car He is in the channel with us now whilst he's doing donuts. Phil Kraus, what a stunning drive there at the end. Came out on top, took victory. How does it feel?
Oh, I thought I threw it away when I messed up turn 3 and 4. I overdrove the corner a little bit, ran a bit up the track, and I thought Petter was going to get me really easily there, but I was really lucky that I was able to pinch him down just enough to hold the lead through 1 and 2.
Were you kind of remaining calm as like there were quite a few cautions towards the end of the race? In all of that, were you kind of remaining calm, just being like, okay, it's fine, let's just wait it out, see how it's going to be at the end?
I wouldn't say that as the restarts kept on happening and happening. I knew it wasn't the greatest to restart, so I was kind of worried about losing like 5 spots on a restart, but in the end it worked out, and can't be more ecstatic really.
Well, congratulations, a first podium of the season, and that being a victory as well in the first oval race before we head to Indianapolis for that finale. Congratulations to Phil Kraus. We'll move it very quickly on to our second place finisher and all of that. Outscoring Jene Simoncic, Petr Berliak, nearly a second race victory of the season. How was your oval experience out there today?
Topsy-turvy. Yeah, I don't know. At the start, I didn't even hear the green flag, so I lost like 3 places right away. And then I was just, I don't know, kind of struggling in traffic, to be honest. I overheated my front right, and then when I tried to slow down, I bogged down in 4th gear, and when I tried to go through, I made it even worse. So I was losing places everywhere. And then, yeah, the cautions kind of came out at the right time, so I was able to claw back some positions. And at the end, it was good until I think penultimate lap. I kind of overcooked the corner, and then half a second gap, and then I couldn't catch it anymore.
In consideration when it comes to the championship, you kind of have to bring it up. You've had your fair share of bad luck, as we noticed back in Sebring. You're still within championship contention, just about. You're within 70 points. You've outscored Jene Simoncic here. Is there still hope that the championship's going to be there, or are you just really focusing on getting the best result from Indianapolis?
I think we'll just focus on the best result, yeah, because we're with Martin's disconnection again. I mean, yeah, ever since round 1, we kind of had one car off somewhere, or just not able to get a result. So we suffered a lot in the teams. But yeah, we'll just have to do the best we can, and then just see where we end up.
Well, another decent drive and another podium for you, Petr, the second of the season. Coming here at the penultimate round, we have to go to the man who's finished on the podium 7 consecutive times in the top 4 every race this season, Jene Simoncic. How do you keep doing it?
I think a lot of luck. Well, of course, yeah, some skill, but also today it was, I guess, mostly about my decision to just not go for the win, but just go and survive and stay safe and lift off if there are dangerous situations. And in the end, it got me P3, which I'm super happy about. But I have mixed feelings. It was good fun, a really nice race, but the amount of yellow flags, I don't think this is what FSR is about. The driving standards, it's much better than that on average. So I hope it at least looked exciting on the stream. But yeah, that's it.
With those cautions coming out, we can keep on that topic. Obviously, the next round of the season, an oval, the championship decider. You currently lead the championship by 32 points over Alex Siebel after that's completed. So you've pulled out another 5 points. Are you going into the final round with a lot of stress, or are you kind of still pretty confident that it's going to go okay? You know, with the cautions on the table.
I am confident, but due to lack of experience in ovals, I always have that slightly higher level of worry. Although then again, today it was even more extreme worry because it was my first race with the new rig, the beautiful black and gold burst color rig from Simplexity. So I had to get adjusted to that, but it's really good. So for the next round, it will be awesome, I think.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for that. The championship fight is very, very close in the team side of things. Just 8 points are Ewan. We're heading into the final race of the season. Things are going to be pretty tight. Things are going to be pretty scary. There is that championship that you can see on your screen. It is a 30-point lead for Jone Simracers over Alex Siebel. How that works out in the teams is the Evolution lead by 8 points over Burst Simplexity Esports. And we've got a fantastic final coming up in just a week's time.
Yeah, we have. We don't have long to wait for it, but yeah, that was a great taster for what the Indy 300 is actually going to be like next week. And I'm personally really looking forward to it. It's a very different oval. And we'll talk about that throughout the day when we get to it next week. But yeah, it's different, but it's also going to be very exciting as well. IndyCars race really well there. That's kind of what they're built for, to be honest, that circuit. So they are going to race really well there. And I'm very much looking forward to it. I know the championship has still got a pretty big margin in it, but anything can happen in these ovals. We've seen it today. A lot of incidents. Not many actual front names have been caught out. Maybe Dennis Jordan's had a pretty poor day in terms of accidents, but that's about it. You never know, though, when one of these accidents could catch out a big name. So you just have to keep tuning into these races. You can never predict what's going to happen.
Yeah, just one final one to come up on the 8th of November. We should see a bit of a bigger grid there as well for the drivers that take part in the Indy Am Championship. There's the chance to progress, dependent on finishing positions in that. With how many drivers we've had, it's pretty complicated. We'll get into it on race day. But there is a chance for drivers to get themselves on the IndyPRO grid for the Race IndyPRO Championships by FSR's finale in just a week's time. Don't forget to like the broadcast and subscribe to the race for all of the upcoming content. A reminder that on this channel tomorrow is round 2 of the GT Challenge Series, and on Sunday the penultimate race for the Super GT Championship at Motegi, and of course there's the grand finale for the British GT at Silverstone. Jenson Button's going to be on that grid. Don't forget to watch it. A pretty tight championship fight. And of course, in 1 week's time we return for the final race of the season. Sunday, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 300 miles, should be an absolute thriller. We'll have to wait to see you then. Lewis McGlade alongside me all day has been Ewan O'Leary. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining. And until that season finale, goodbye.